across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. I'm back in the evening, back where I belong, and good to have your company. Good evening, and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk, all the way to 10 o'clock. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be your genial host throughout 3 thrilling hours of news, views, and topical debate. Get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000 or WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I guarantee I'll play your message out. You have my word. That's 0344 499 1000. It's Thursday, May the 29th. Here's what's coming up. While quivering Keir Starmer showcases his sheer panic over the rise of reform, he remains haunted by the migrant crisis he has so disastrously failed to solve. In fact, our clueless leader's smash the gangs, no deterrence strategy has only succeeded in making matters massively worse. And that sage of Downing Street, Dominic Cummings, knows why. It's because two-tier has made exactly the same mistake as his hapless predecessor Rishi Sunak. Talked up this national Uber problem as a serious danger to the country, to which it is vital he finds a solution, and then spectacularly not come anywhere near finding one, staying in the ECHR, taking orders from a foreign court. It's rubbish Rishi, the sequel. Why couldn't Starmer see that copying Sunak was a recipe for catastrophe? 0344 1000. In other news, back to Starmer's sheer naked terror as the reform tail wags the Labour dog and quakes in fear over a party with 5 MPs. All the Labourites and the Tories keep screaming, how will Nigel Farage pay for his proposed widespread tax breaks and restoring the winter fuel allowance? And he keeps telling them, it's by ditching all of your net zero and DEI claptrap and ceasing to pour billions of wasted pounds down the green diversity drain. But they don't want to listen to that, do they? They don't want to even face the truth that their virtue-signalling madness has broken Britain to its knees. 0344 499 1000. Plus, we'll get into the legalising cannabis row as a police crime commissioner denounces London Mayor Sadiq Khan's proposal to decriminalise weed and says that far from that, cannabis should be moved up from a Category B to a Category A drug, insisting it's as dangerous as crack cocaine. What do you think? Is it time to go easy on dope smokers or increase the punishment for marijuana use? 0344 499 1000. Also tonight, the rule of law, Trump's democracy as American courts outlaw Donald Trump's global tariffs. The fuming president is set to appeal to the Supreme Court. Doesn't he have a point? He's elected by the people. The 3 judges who stomped on his economic policy are not. How come they get to decide? And don't we have the same problem in Britain, handing too much power to lawyers? That's what happens when so many of our MPs are barristers, a grotesquely disproportionate number of them, old barrister windbags. Too many, in fact. Have we got too many lawyers in the House of Commons, and do we cede too much power to the courts of the land? Whatever you think about Starmer, and I don't think a lot of him, and I'm sure a lot of you agree, he's the elected leader of this country. Like all other prime ministers, and like the president in America, he has to take second place in the power stakes to the courts. You need the rule of law, but aren't we going too far? 0344 499 1000. Also, the wonder of Tory Shadow Justice Minister Robert Jenrick as he hits London's tube train system, filming and interviewing the fare bunkers who smash through the barriers all day and every day. Why does Sadiq Khan's Transport for London organisation just let thousands of criminal commuters get away with this? Any of you who take the tube regularly like I do, you must see it all the time. It's kind of annoying. You know, you know what it is. It happens to be a lot. You get to the barrier, and as you go through, some little skank comes through with you. I've got a technique. When I see it, I just stop and don't let them get through and turn round and say, pay your effing fare. But they don't care. They just go to the next barrier. Why doesn't Sadiq Khan crack down on these people? I think Robert Jenrick has tapped into something that will strike a chord with many people, millions of Londoners and many, many commuters, because it's not just on the underground system. It's trains, buses everywhere. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. Not forgetting my exclusive interview with Elon Musk's father, Errol. I'll get his thoughts after his son quit the White House today, worried that his Doge efficiency drive may not succeed. Meanwhile, fury is growing after those two bovine coppers were filmed smashing a 92-year-old one-legged amputee around with their truncheons, pepper spraying him, and then unleashing their taser gun on him. He was sitting in a room with one leg in his care home, brandishing a feeble little butter knife, if you're watching, about the size of my thumb. What's wrong with these ridiculous rozzers? Where was the common sense in the way they dealt with this poor old boy who died 22 days later? I mean, you know, what would you have done? I just walked up to him and said, "Oi, you silly old sod, give me that knife." I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. A court has acquitted these two of assaulting of actual bodily harm, but they now face another trial in a way at a police disciplinary hearing where they will be tried for gross misconduct. I don't like calling for people to lose their jobs, but those two don't deserve to wear the badge. They must be fired. Do you agree with me? 0344 499 1000. Also, a Pakistani heroin dealer with 21 drugs convictions has avoided deportation because, of course, drum roll, he has a right to a family life. Aren't you sick of this crap? 0344 499 1000. And finally, Kinsey Schofield on Meghan's astonishing announcement that she's shutting up shop and her laughable lifestyle site, as ever, won't be forever. It's over. It's unbelievable. All that song and dance. I've had enough of that. She said she might reopen it next year and sell a few clothes. But, you know, don't bet the farm on it. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Thursday night together. And I am very pleased to announce that in the studio with me for the first 60 sizzling minutes is the senior fellow at the New Culture Forum, Philip Kilsley. Hello, Philip.
Hi, Kev. It's great to be here again.
Always a pleasure to have your company. Now, I don't know if you watched. I know that Dominic Cummings, controversial character, gets a lot of flack and all that. And I can see why. He's unusual, kind of on the spectrum. But boy, oh boy, he knows his politics. And he's given a rare interview to Sky News, quite a long one. And it's fascinating stuff. I watched all of it last night. It's fascinating. And one of his main points, and you sort of think, it's obvious what he's saying here, but the way he lays it out, you think, yeah, man, what the hell went on here? And his point is this, that he says he's stunned by Keir Starmer's approach to the migrant crisis. Because what did we have? The last Prime Minister, he said, look, this guy, Keir Starmer, he, like the rest of us, he watched Rishi Sunak, you know, basically crucify himself, commit political suicide by talking up the importance of stopping the boats. Remember him always standing in front of those lectures, stop the boats. I've got to stop the boats. This crisis is endangering the country culturally, economically. I will stop the boats. This is so serious. I've got to stop it. I've got to stop this. In other words, sort of alerting the people in a rather sensational way to the serious nature of this crisis. So that people will go, man, yeah, he's right. He's got to solve that. And then, of course, he doesn't solve it. He doesn't solve it because he refuses to leave the European Convention on Human Rights and, by extension, the European Court on Human Rights, and therefore we continue to play second fiddle to a foreign court that can basically order us around. So once he didn't leave that, his job was always going to be difficult. Also, of course, he did nothing about physically stopping the boats or even physically telling the migrants, look, you came here illegally, this is what you're doing now, a U-turn. You don't get to claim asylum because you broke into our country illegally. But actually, Dominic Cummings favours just literally turning the boats around. So he didn't do anything physical. So that was his problem. He got the country into a high state, going, well, we've got to solve this. And he's right, it is a bad problem. And then didn't bring in any measures that conceivably could have solved that crisis. And now, along comes Keir Starmer, and he's done exactly the same. He's talked it, I must solve it, I'll solve it. His slogan is not so much stop the boats, his slogan is smash the gangs. Completely ineffective, won't leave the European Court on Human Rights, therefore we don't get to call our own tune. We can say, oh, we're going to deport this person, and then the ECHR said, no, you're not, and they go, oh, okay, what can we do? Well, listen, this is Dominic Cummings summing up this strange chronology. Have a look.
And so he is setting himself up for exactly the same political disaster that Rishi Sunak had. And it's going to play out live on social media in a way that the Number 10 can't control, because everyone will see the stupid dinghies arriving every day, all through the summer. After Starmer said, this is irredeemable damage and it must stop and I'm going to stop it. And everyone's going to see boats arriving every day. So people have known this inside Number 10 in the Cabinet Office for years. Sunak was told this in 2023, and everyone knows this. It's exactly the same thing with Starmer now.
You know, put that way, as I say, I watched that, and it's sort of, yeah, I knew that, but wait, well, that is... It's bizarre, isn't it? It's bizarre that Keir Starmer has replicated the exact mistakes of Rishi Sunak in the full knowledge that Rishi Sunak's approach to this crisis was a disaster.
Yeah. I mean, mass immigration is the problem. It's the central problem. You could argue that everything comes from mass immigration, OK? Last year, 1.3 million people gross came into the country, OK? That's an extraordinary number. Now, they know this is the big problem, but I think there's a couple of things here. One, all of this stuff is just performative, OK? Because this goes against the grain. This goes against everything he believes. He believes open borders. He believes international socialism, he believes globalism, he believes in the EU. Okay.
Awful little man, isn't he? 03444991000.
What do you think of him? I'm selling him that.
How awful do you think the Prime Minister is? 03444991000. I know the switchboard will light up now, but seriously, carry on.
They are thinking short term, okay? Because he is thinking, oh well, something else is going to be in the newsfeed tomorrow, and it will take people's attention away from this. No, it won't. It won't.
Yes,
People
exactly.
are absolutely frightened, and I'll tell you why. Because they see it every day. If you walk into town, or you catch a bus into town, or you go on the tube, you see it. You see the impact of mass immigration, and it isn't just people. It isn't just bodies. It's culture. It's society. Places are filthy because nobody owns them anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, he's right when he says it's an island of strangers. So he's identifying all of these problems and doing absolutely nothing about it. And he's doing nothing about it because actually he thinks it will go away, or it will be superseded by another problem. It ain't going to go away. It's the biggest problem we've got, and if we don't do something about it, then we are in catastrophe. Now, you could say the plane's crashed into the mountain. We are beyond catastrophe. Okay, what are we going to do? But he needs to do something quickly. He won't do something quickly, and of course Nigel Farage is just standing in the wings.
You're right. What is bizarre and strange is that Keir Starmer thinks he can get away with a performative
He thinks he can get
approach.
away with it.
Yeah, no, Keir. You've got to solve this. I mean, you haven't got a single chance in hell of solving it with your useless approach. But the Prime Minister that solves this crisis will be in good stead with the people. The Prime Minister who doesn't will once again be in the toilet with the people. Here's a couple of comparisons that sort of bring into sharp focus the bizarre sort of replication of Starmer after Rishi. Here's Rishi with his stop the boats rhetoric.
I will not rest until the boats are stopped. With grip and determination, the government can fix this. And we are using every tool at our disposal.
How did that work out? But the point is, he wasn't. He wasn't using every tool. The tools at his disposal were leave the ECHR, start turning the boats around, or just fly the new arrivals out of the country. He didn't do that. Before we go on, Philip, let's have a look at Starmer, you know, kind of doing his mimicking act.
The number of people crossing the channel now is shocking. It's record numbers, as you rightly say. And this was Rishi Sunak's pledge to the country 18 months ago that he'd stop the boats, and the numbers have gone up. The way to bring this down, it has to be dealt with, this is a very serious issue, is what we would do, which was to set up a border security command to smash the gangs that are running this vile trade. There are gangs that are making a fortune putting people into boats. We have to take them down. I've done it before when I was a chief prosecutor in relation to terrorists. We will do it again in relation to the gangs that are running this vile trade, because nobody but nobody should be making that journey across the channel in a small boat.
And here we are, 10 months into his regime, getting on for 11 months, not far off a year. Haven't smashed a single gang. He's wasted £200 million on the useless Border Security Command. I think I've said this to you before, Philip. It's a flawed strategy. You've got to stop the migrants. No point in smashing the gangs. You smash all the gangs you like tonight, there'll be new ones tomorrow because there's migrants. It's supply and demand. I don't think he believes it's smash the gangs.
That was actually, this is the point I was going to make. I was just watching him there, and he doesn't believe a word he's saying. The problem is that he's so removed from reality that mass immigration, which is a massive, serious problem to everybody else, this is just a problem in abstract.
Yeah.
Okay? And problems in abstract tend to just go away, float away for that particular person. They ain't floating away for us. I mean, people just looking at that and seeing him, do you have any confidence in a person who talks like that? No, I don't. I don't have any confidence at all. In fact, I'm incredibly worried.
In a minute, we're going to talk about, obviously, his panicking speech today. This is the Prime Minister of this country. How many MPs? He's got like 470 or something. Yeah. He's got this enormous majority. He's got like 450. I can't remember the exact number. But it's way over 400 MPs. His majority, I think, is something obscene like 250, right? He is terrified. He is quaking in his boots about a party with 5 MPs. The Reform UK tail is wagging the Labour dog, as I said earlier. Before we move on to Keir's strange speech today, this is the final look at Dominic Cummings. Speaking to Sky News, it is very interesting. This is... no, I think we have already played that. But it was a fascinating interview with Sky News. A very rare chance to see something interesting on Sky News. So.
One of the things that Dominic Cummings said a while ago, if you remember, he was talking about why people believe in all of these crazy ideologies, okay? And he said that people believe in narratives. People follow narratives. They're not interested in facts. And I think Keir Starmer is a classic example of that. When he's reciting all of these facts, he doesn't believe them. You can tell he doesn't believe them. He has a narrative, and this narrative is global, is mass immigration, all of those things, as I say, and nothing you or I can say will change that.
Yeah, you know, I think his journey on this, I think he does now in his density realise that actually this is a real problem that he will have to do something about. He thought he could get away with a performative approach. Smash the gangs, that'll get us some headlines, won't it? Well, yeah, got your headlines, but not the kind of headlines you were looking for. This is, well, let's just leave old Dominic on a slightly different topic. Potential reform Tories unifying pact. Let's have a look.
Kemi can't do it, obviously, but she'll be gone. But also, it's quite possible that the Tories have just kind of crossed the event horizon and actually aren't salvageable. Like, everyone sort of assumes that because they've always been around, then like somehow there must be at least one last chance for them to turn things around. But it's possible that that chance is actually in their past.
Do you think?
And doesn't exist.
Well, we saw a bit of brilliant opposition politics today from the excellent Robert Jenrick going out filming himself, as I was talking about, filming himself confronting fare bunkers. One of them, he'd got a knife. He's the guy going, F off, F off. And Jenrick going, well, you can say F off as much as you like. Have you got a knife? That was an excellent bit of opposition politics, but largely speaking, we've got to move on now. But I think Cummings is right. I think they've crossed the Rubicon, the Tories. I don't think they can come back. I don't think Reform are that interested in a pact because it's all Reform and not the Tories anymore. And certainly if the Tories don't get rid of Kemi soon, they really are finished.
I mean, why should Reform be interested in a pact? Because the Tories are absolutely nowhere. Nobody cares about the Tories. This is the major problem they've got, you know. Just looking at some of the news coming out today, the Tories are even trying, some of them, to bring Boris Johnson back. You know, this is
He's not a Tory.
I mean, he's not a Tory anyway. He's a Liberal.
Dem Greenie, isn't he?
Yeah, but you know, he's the source of all of their problems.
Yes, he is.
So much mass immigration was down to him. It was the Boris way.
Just shrugged his shoulders about it.
Yeah,
metropolitan elite guy. Yeah,
and they seem to be in this destructive, abusive relationship with him. He is a narcissist. He will harm them. Yet they keep going back to him time and time again.
I think it's the thicker ones do that. I mean, there are, I know for a fact, there are a lot of people, the bright Tories, and that party still does have some bright people. They know that they're potentially here in a death spiral, a doom spiral, that it's all over, it's irretrievable. They're the bright ones. The dim ones, they just think that tradition will come back, that we'll revert to tradition, we'll build up, you know, the traditional revival after defeat. Well, it ain't happening, and if it was to stand a snowball's chance in hell of happening, you know, I don't want to be nasty about Kemi, but she's not up to this. She's blown it already. They need a new leader. Jenrick obviously is positioning himself for that job, but I wouldn't be surprised if before too long Mr. Jenrick doesn't think about crossing the House and joining. I think he's going to spot Reform are on the rise. I want to be in with the winners, not the losers. But interesting times. Well, when we come back, we'll talk about Starmer's panic-ridden speech today, attacking Reform left, right and centre, saying that Donald Trump is the new Liz Truss. By the way, you know, sympathy for Liz Truss. OK, she did things a bit too fast, but, you know, this kind of complete demonisation of everything she said and thought, I'm not with that. She had a few proper conservative ideas, and all these Tories who knock her don't know how to be conservatives. At least she knows how to be a Tory. We'll talk about that when we come back, so stay tuned.
Can you imagine Sadiq Khan doing that? He was too busy saying that we should legalise cannabis this week to bother about shoplifting, mobile phone theft, fare dodging, the kind of things that Londoners actually want to see him doing. What we've got to see here is real action, because I think ordinary Londoners, as people across the country, they feel almost silly, they feel foolish that they are paying when they're going to work, going to school, going to college, going shopping, and they're seeing all these people who are breaking the rules.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, as I said earlier, I'm still with Philip Kilsley from the New Culture Forum. As I said earlier, Philip, you know, make no mistake. I mean, it's an extraordinary situation that the Reform UK tail is wagging the government's dog, the Labour dog. We have Nigel Farage's got 5 MPs. It's him and 4 others. 5 MPs. Starmer's got about 450, 250 majority, something like that. And he's terrified. He's terrified of Farage. So Farage, as we know, a couple of days ago, had this sort of press conference and speech in which he said he offered huge tax breaks to the whole country, really, especially to young couples who are getting married, to encourage them to have kids. Also, minimum tax, £20,000 to raise it to that, and of course restore completely the winter fuel allowance. Now, ever since then, both Labour and Tories have been screaming at him, how are you going to pay for this? You're like Liz Truss. You're going to put us into an economic meltdown, just like Liz did. Well, his whole speech explained where he was going to find the money. He's going to stop pouring billions of pounds down the green diversity drain. It is estimated that if, as they plan, Reform UK completely axes net zero, no more of any of it, like Donald Trump did in America, that at a stroke will save this country £40 billion. Also, if you get rid of every single DEI initiative, DEI, you know, for example, 40 million quid wasted in the NHS on 800 DEI officers, get rid of that. Getting rid of DEI, they estimate, could save 20 to 30 billion pounds. Now, there you go. That's about 60, 70 billion pounds. And the more he says that, they act like he hasn't said it, because they got no answer to that. We're saying to Keir Starmer, and indeed the Tories, why are you ruining the economy on the altar of this net zero lunacy? Why are you ruining the economy on the altar of that madman Ed Miliband? Why all this DEI? And they won't listen. They are more interested in signalling their virtue about saving the planet and being kind than the practical realities of running this country properly. And they're running us into the ground.
They are, and it was so great to just hear him slaughter all of those sacred cows, one after another. Net zero, migrant hotels, quangos. You know, this is one of the major things, isn't it? We still have that kind of legacy of Tony Blair, all of these quangos which are completely dominated by these people, and they waste so much money. The really important thing at the moment, I think, is that we just have a reform agenda. They are dominating politics, everything. Starmer is only talking about mass immigration because it's the reform, you know, it's the major reform policy. And so
now he's having to do U-turns on all of his tax impositions. He's doing a U-turn on the winter fuel allowance because of Farage.
Because of Farage, and I can't in my adult life, I can't remember a time when it was like this. Certainly not with a tiny party with five MPs. It's just extraordinary.
It really is.
So I think, I mean, all we have to do now is look at Nigel, look at reform, look at what they are talking about, and then we will know precisely what the big issues are going to be in a few years' time.
And in a little while we'll play you a little footage. Even The Guardian you know, Labour's House magazine, its House newspaper. Even The Guardian is rounding on Starmer. We'll play you that in a little while. But here's a couple of edited lowlights of Starmer's speech today. First off, this is him on what he called Farage's mad splurge.
He set out economic plans that contained billions upon billions of completely unfunded spending. Precisely the sort of irresponsible splurge that sent your mortgage cost, your bills, and the cost of living through the roof. It's Liz Truss all over again. Now, in opposition, we said that she would crash the economy and leave you to pick up the bill. And we were right. And we were elected to fix that mess. Now, in government, we're once again fighting the same fantasy.
Oh, shut up. Here's no, this is rubbish, isn't it? Yeah, how's he going to pay for it? This is a splurge. He keeps telling you how he's going to pay for it. We know how he's going to pay for it. You talk about him wasting money, the irresponsibility of his, what you call fantasy policies, Starmer. Well, here's the irresponsible way you waste money on all of Ed Miliband's absolutely gormless green claptrap and on diversity all over the shop. You are the one who are irresponsible with our money. Nigel Farage says, well, what I'm going to do is I'll save money on all of that. And you can't help noticing that neither Labour nor Tories will address this issue and that issue is the amount of money they spend on net zero and diversity. They can't talk about that because it makes them look quite deservedly horrific. This is Farage explaining, Philip, on how he will pay for his promises.
Are you going to tell us how you paid for these measures that you've announced today, or have you got a magic money tree growing in your back garden?
All right, you started it. The cost of net zero to the taxpayer, figures produced by the Institute of Government, are estimated between 2025 and 2030 to cost £45 billion every single year. The cost of asylum seeker accommodation, be it hotels or be it houses of multiple occupancy, as I mentioned earlier, £4 billion every year. That may be a slightly low estimate because actually the overall costs of illegal immigration are much higher. DEI, as researched by Defunding Political Campaigns, estimated to cost government £7 billion every year. Quangos, just a 5% cut. And by the way, do you remember in the general election, we suggested a 5% cut? I mean, you thought, you know, what dreadful people we were.
So, isn't it, it's just weird that there he is explaining where he's going to find the money, and Starmer and Badenoch and the entire Westminster body politic who aren't in reform are just acting like he didn't say that because they cannot face confronting the horror of the waste they inflict on this benighted nation.
Well, I mean, there are a couple of things here, aren't there? There's the financial aspect, but there's also all of the content, the philosophical aspect, if you like. So net zero is absolutely at the heart of who they are. DEI is absolutely at the heart of who they are. It's what they think. It's their set of values. So if they throw all of that away, they are left with nothing. They don't even have an identity. And they have to admit that their whole worldview is upside down. OK, this is just one massive big waste. So no matter how many times he tells them it's wrong, it's rubbish, it's a waste of money, they're just not going to believe it.
They can't. Yeah, because that is like fundamentally dismantling them. Yeah, everything they stand for goes by the by.
They just fall apart, you know. And it's this thing, isn't it? It's what Cummings said before. I keep coming back to this. It's living via narratives and beliefs rather than by facts and figures.
And these idiots, do you remember Labour's election campaign pledge, a greener, fairer future, as if that, you know, what they don't realise, they go around, they do focus groups, they do surveys, they do polls, and, you know, they go around saying, no, to people in the public, you know, on balance, you know, would you like to save the planet, or would you prefer it if the planet got destroyed?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, I'd like to save the planet. And these idiot politicians go, well, this is very important to people. They want to save the planet. We must base our policies on this.
Yeah.
Well, you then go back to those same people and you say, would you like to save the planet on the basis that we have the highest energy bills in the entire world, which indeed we do, that we have energy bills that are 5 times higher than America? Everybody will go, nah, not really. You can forget the planet. Can I have cheaper bills, please?
Absolutely.
We live in the real world. These people don't. We'll finish on this. It's amusing. So I told you earlier that even the Guardian's rounding on old robot Starmer. This is a very brief clip. This is a question from a Guardian journalist after that tedious speech by the Prime Minister. Watch this.
And on the wider issue of the opposition you're now facing, do you think one of the problems is that Nigel Farage can approximate talking like a human being, where you just resort to talking points and dodging questions?
He also made the point, someone else also said, so it was all about, loads of the journalists were giving him a hard time after his stirring speech. There's just less trust all over again. Journalists go, oh, yeah. They then said to him, you know, one journalist said, yeah, Nigel Farage, you know, public school educated, former city trader boy, posh as, you know, posh as they come. How is it that, you know, and you, working class son of a tool maker and an NHS nurse, how is it that this posh boy can talk to ordinary people and you can't? As that guy from The Guardian said, he can't speak human, and of course he was completely flummoxed by this.
Well, you could almost see him malfunctioning there, couldn't you? It was like,
sparks.
What do I do?
Starmer bot malfunction.
But that is a serious. A Guardian journalist is essentially saying you are not fit for the job. You are the Labour Prime Minister. You are not fit for the job. Actually, Nigel Farage, you know, as far as we're concerned, the wickedest man ever to walk the earth. He is better than you. Yeah. My God.
Right, we're going to go to break now. During the break, Philip and I are going to smoke a joint. And then when we come back, we're going to discuss the legalisation of cannabis. We're not really going to smoke a joint. That is a joke, folks. But we will be discussing Sadiq Khan's suggestion that cannabis, grass, weed is decriminalised. That next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about cannabis because yesterday you may have noticed that the Pipsqueak London Mayor Sadiq Khan suggested or proposed that possession of grass, weed, smoking it in the street should be decriminalised because that would improve relations between ethnic communities and the police. There's two things I would say about that. Is you might as well just say, well, why don't we legalise stabbing and violent attacks and guns and rape? Because that will make things a lot less fractious between the people and the police. So that's fairly ridiculous. But there is one thing I want to say about this. I think it's a racist thing to say. The idea that ethnic community, people of colour and ethnic people smoke more dope than white people is racist. It's just not true. It's not true, and I won't have racism on this show. Seriously, though. Anyway, the Dorset Police Commissioner has hit back against Sadiq Khan, saying that not only should weed not be decriminalised, he said it should be upgraded from a Class B drug to a Class A drug, because he says he thinks it's just as dangerous as crack cocaine. I'm not sure if I go along with that, and I come from a generation, I was saying this last night, you know, where for my generation it's hard to get worked up about drugs. I grew up in a time where everybody took drugs and people just didn't really think all that much about it, so I'm pretty diffident and liberal about dope smoking and things like this. But the reason I don't think it should be legalised or decriminalised is because I think it's a bit like bunking fares. You let these little things go, and you just create a growing sense of lawlessness.
That's it. I think it's the bigotry of low expectations, as you say, as well, for ethnic minorities. It's just, you know, he's saying ethnic minorities break the law, so let's abolish the law. It's as simple as that, and it's you know, that in itself is extremely worrying. I'm like you, Kev. I grew up in the 80s and 90s on the Manchester music scene, and I was very much part of that. So, if, you know, everyone.
Congratulations on surviving.
And I'm here.
Still here to tell the tale.
I'm still alive. So that does say something, and I can actually string a sentence together sometimes. But this is look. There's something here about what dope is now, and we're really talking about skunk, I think.
It's very strong, yeah.
It's extremely strong, and we know that it does cause depression, it does cause anxiety, and it does cause psychosis. It is a gateway drug.
It is a gateway drug. I mean, kids who start smoking weed, particularly now, you're right. I mean, not all of them, but some of them can develop serious psychosis, schizophrenia. It can be very psychologically damaging. But also, probably I would suggest it's more dangerous as the gateway to the wonderful world, or the not so wonderful world of hard drugs.
Of hard drugs, yeah. And but also for everybody else, you know, I was walking to the studio today on the street, you smell it.
I know.
It's all over the place. You know, and we're saying, oh, you know, it would be decriminalised. Isn't it decriminalised already? Because everybody smokes it out in the open.
That's exactly the point I made yesterday. The ridiculous nature of this declaration by Sadiq Khan is this: it already is decriminalised. You know, you see people smoking joints on their way to work in the morning. The whole of London stinks of it. Coppers, you know, they don't so much turn a blind eye. They're just not interested. That is below their pay grade. So it already is decriminalised. But I don't think we should go the full 9 yards and make it legal.
No, because it would fundamentally change society. People say, oh, well, alcohol is legal, and look at the harm that does. Alcohol is a different thing. It's part of our culture. Yes, there are massive problems with it, but it's always been part of our culture. If you introduce marijuana and make it illegal, you will fundamentally change society, okay? There's something different there. So we desperately shouldn't want to do that. But again, it just comes to this thing. So if you live in a block of flats, for example, this could really ruin your life, because it's going to stink the place out, okay? It's not just in public places, it's in private dwellings as well. But also, it's, as you say, it's the broken windows thing, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's along with litter in the streets, it's along with broken windows, it's just something else that takes the joy out of life and makes everything just seem shabby and that nobody cares.
Exactly right, exactly right. It's funny that we don't really talk about drug problems anymore. We've still got big drug problems. Used to be one of the pervasive sort of issues that gripped this country. We just sort of shrug our shoulders these days.
Well, I mean, you can remember when the Rolling Stones were put in prison in 1967
for cannabis.
For a little bit, you know, a great big cause celeb. It was the end of the world. Then you had heroin in the 70s, then you had ecstasy in the 80s and 90s. It was all a big thing. But now it's just, you never smelt it or saw it in the streets. That's the thing.
It's just it's what I say, and I'm glad you agree. The fact that this city, and other cities too, but this city just stinks of weed all the time. Nobody's paying their fare on the tubes. Petty crime is just overlooked. People are getting beaten up on the streets. Just this sense that we're in a serious state of decline, and lawlessness rules the roost, and that isn't good. That isn't good. So that's why I would not decriminalise or certainly legalise cannabis. And by the way, over in America, some of those cities where they've and states where they've legalised it, particular places like Seattle and Colorado is terrible. I mean, these are becoming cities full of zombies because you can buy really seriously strong stuff. And the other thing, I was explaining this last night to Isabel Oakeshott, the idea that regulating cannabis by making it legal puts the illegal dealers out of business.
It's just nonsense.
Well, actually, business is booming for the illegal dealers in all the states where cannabis is legal because it's unregulated, so you can't buy it legally under the age of 16, under the age of 18, and there are strict controls on just how strong it can be. Well, the illegal dealers are saying you can buy at any age, and it's as strong as hell. Exactly. There are no restrictions. So it actually makes business better for the illegal dealers. So everything about legalising it is dubious, to say the least. And I think the worst thing is cities full of zombies.
Yeah, they will be supplying a particular demand. It's just that demand will be illegal. But that city's full of zombies is exactly it, and who wants that?
Exactly right. I'll just tell you a quick story I told Isabel last night. This is funny. So Colorado was one of the first states to legalise cannabis. Big city, Denver, and of course the reason the authorities are quite keen on doing this, it brings in billions of tax dollars. So what did the state of Colorado spend their new cannabis tax dollars on? A new courthouse and a new police station. That's true. Next up, we're going to go across the Atlantic and talk about this legal battle as the courts of America have literally nixed, as they say in the States, President Trump's tariff policy. They've ruled it illegal. As of now, the tariffs cannot be imposed. Trump, having been trumped, is absolutely furious. He's going to appeal this, of course, but we need to discuss who runs countries, not just America, here as well. Is it the democratically elected politicians, the government, or is it unelected judges? Is it the courts of the land? Let's talk about that next. Stay where you are.
One of the things that a lot of people don't realise about cannabis, that excessive use can produce psychosis.
Yeah.
So we do get quite a lot of incidents within London of psychopathic behaviour of people who are extreme cannabis users. So there is some truth in the fact that it's a damaging drug.
Yeah, I think that's a massive issue that's often overlooked. People think of it as just some sort of, we just few people sort of sitting around smoking dope. It's not. That's certainly not the kind of drug that a lot of people are using.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, Donald Trump is in a rage, and you can understand why, because a federal court, that means one of the courts that controls the whole country, you have state courts, federal courts, so this is a full American court, has ruled that his tariff policies are unlawful. This is a court called the U.S. Court of International Trade. So it is blocking Trump's economic tariff policies. He is going to appeal, of course, to the Supreme Court. Chances are he'll do all right there because the Supreme Court is loaded in his favour, but you don't know. But of course, what he's angry about is, you know, he's saying, I'm the democratically elected president. This is my democratic government. We are representatives of the people. You three obscure judges, you know, you're not elected, and how is it that you are able to dictate the economic policy of the most powerful country on earth? How is this happening? We have the same problem in this country.
That's it, exactly.
We really do. I mean, for example, not a particularly clever example, but, you know, for example, our current government was unable, in its confusion about what a woman is, you know, Keir Starmer, 99% of women don't have penises. Love to meet that 1% who do. But in its confusion, it wasn't able to reach a policy about biological sex until the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, after 5 years, decided that on balance, a woman is someone who's born a woman. So there you have it. The courts dictating government policy, the government feeling unable to come up with policies until it has the backing of the courts. I think our problem here in this country is that if you go to that funny old place, the House of Commons, something like 50% of them are barristers. We have too many lawyers not in government, in politics. Too many of them.
You think about Blair, you think about Starmer himself. You know, they run.
Margaret Thatcher, but she's the exception that proves the rule, of course. But
so. America's been trading at a self-imposed deficit, and what Trump wants to do is balance that out. So he had to have recourse to what's called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act from 1977.
I knew that.
And so this is how far he has to go. Now, this is why he was voted in the first place, right? Because he wants to get things done. He wants to cut through all of this stuff. Yeah. But what America has and what we have are activist judges, okay? Activist judges who are working against Britain and America, who are working against democracy, who are, keep coming back to this word, who are globalists. We have the same problem, and they are almost like fifth columnists trying to defeat us in what we're doing. And all he's asking for is actually a level playing field. Now, I think, Kev, you're right in the sense that I think he'll probably do quite well when he goes to appeal with this, because I think, you know, hopefully people, the judges there will see sense, and they are, you know, they are his people. But again, this is really worrying. This is what we're up against. And if we're thinking into the future and we're thinking about 2029, this is what Reform have to think about. This is what they're taking on. So they need policy.
They'll be opposed every step of the way by the legal eagles, by the courts.
They've got to think about how they take on the activist judges.
But you see, you get people like Starmer, you know, and to him, you know, the god of all diktats is the rule of law, the rule of law, the rule of international law, the rule of law. Well, you know, of course you have to respect the law, but should the law be ruling the country? Should judges sitting in some courtroom, you know, be able to completely reverse, change, block government policy, the policy of an elected government? No, I don't think they should.
It's a particular mindset, isn't it? It's the rule of law is the same as the rule of the EU. It's something far away. It's something untouchable. It's something we can't do anything about, and it imposes a kind of authoritarian power on us.
Yeah, and it is not to be worshipped to the extent that people like Keir Starmer do. The rule of this country, what should be ruling this country? This is a democracy.
Yeah, the will of the people.
For want of a better word, what should be ruling this country is the democratically elected government. And the idea that there's a power higher than that, i.e. a bunch of barristers sitting in a courtroom, that's all wrong to me. That is, and as you say, Philip, these people are invariably politically motivated.
Oh, they're activists. But this was why we voted, 17.5 million people, whatever it was, voted to come out of the EU for precisely this reason. Nobody with any sense wants this. Nobody wants to be ruled over in this very authoritarian way. So it's, as I say, this is what Reform have to do. They have to understand how they are going to take on this layer of bureaucracy in a way.
Because they're going to... This is what's happening with Trump. You see, I mean, Trump, if you like, is the kind of Farage reform type guy of America. And of course the liberal elite, usually Democrats, but quite a few Republicans as well, are going to try and block him every single way and every single step of the way, and the best way of doing that is through the courts.
Yeah, and this is, again, this is like management by committee, isn't it? You know, which is the worst thing in the world. You know, a committee is an animal with 4 back legs. And there's something...
A camel is a horse designed by a committee.
Exactly. But committees are actually there to stop things and just to impose one particular agenda. And like I say, that's the big challenge for us to upturn all of this stuff.
Yeah, and as I say, this is why Keir Starmer won't leave the ECHR, the European Court of Human Rights, which is the legal branch of the European Convention on Human Rights, because that is the role of international law. And it's a standing scandal, I think, that, you know, the reason, as we were discussing earlier in this hour, that the migrant crisis can't be solved is successive prime ministers, this one because he's a lawyer, will not leave the European Court of Human Rights. And until we do not, in the end, make our own decisions about our borders and many of our legal decisions in our courts. These we're going to be discussing in about an hour's time with Isabel Oakeshott another one of these cases where a Pakistani drug dealer with 21 convictions to his name obviously should be immediately deported. He's a Pakistani national, been here for several years, earning a living, selling heroin to British people, doing very nicely. 21 convictions, should be deported. Why isn't he being deported? Because under the European Convention of Human Rights, he has a right to a family life. And of course, he's got a family here. That is perverted. That's perverse. It's grotesque, isn't it?
It's why we need sovereignty. Sovereignty is so important because we get to make our own decisions, and our own decisions put us as a nation first. What we are doing at the moment, and what human rights lawyers do by default, is put everybody else first, to the detriment of our well-being.
Yeah, and that's the problem with Keir Starmer. He likes this. I mean, in his world, in his ideal world, you go to the European Court of Human Rights or something, and if they bring back a verdict you don't like, he'd love it if there was a court above that, and you just keep going.
Until you get what you want.
But you never make your own decisions. You are dictated to by obscure legal eagles sitting in darkened rooms. This is Keir Starmer's world. The rule of law. Well, the rule of law is overrated. It's certainly over-venerated. Yes, we must respect the law. Yes, we must respect international law, but at our own expense, at the expense of national sovereignty, at the expense of the dignity of making our own decisions about our own country, I don't think so. So I hope to hell, to high heaven, that Donald Trump succeeds in smashing those puffed up judges to bits and gets to impose his policies. Whether or not you like his tariff policies, he's the elected president. He should be able to carry them out, right? So Philip Kilsey, what a great hour as always with you. Philip Kilsey from the New Culture Forum. He'll be back very soon. When we come back, it's my friend Isabel Oakeshott. She'll be joining me for the next hour, so stick around for that.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the second hour of tonight's Political Asylum. In a little while, I'll treat you to excerpts from my exclusive interview with Elon Musk's dad, Errol, a fascinating man in himself, I can tell you. He actually killed 3 people with 2 bullets. He had a gun in his hand, and he shot 3 people dead. But only with 2 bullets, because the gun was so powerful. It was one of those Clint Eastwood guns, a Magnum, and it went through 2 people. I'll tell you all the details later. But in case you're wondering why I am not talking about the Liverpool situation, it's because a man has now been charged. We were actually, I'll let you into a secret, later on in this hour, I was going to be discussing with Isabel Oakeshott, who'll join me in a minute, about why it seemed to be taking such a long time to bring any charges against whoever it was driving that van, that people mover, on Monday, as the Liverpool fans celebrated Liverpool FC's victory, its triumph in the Premier League. Well, you know the story now. I think it's 72 people injured, 79 people injured as he drove through the crowd, and we don't know what the hell was going on yet. But the reason I won't be covering that now is because now it's a sub judice situation, because they held a press conference tonight and they have now charged someone. So I can tell you, you probably already know, but the person who's been charged is a father of 3, a former Royal Marine, and his name is Paul Doyle. He's 53 and he's from Burg Hill Road in West Derby, which is part of Liverpool. Anyway, he's been charged following this victory parade crash in which 79 people were injured. He faces multiple counts of causing and attempting to cause unlawful and malicious bodily harm with intent, as well as one of dangerous driving, and 2 counts of unlawful and malicious wounding with intent. The slightly interesting thing about that was he was held on suspicion of potential charges of multiple attempted murder. That doesn't seem to have materialised. But apart from that, he is now obviously in custody, and the next thing we know of him will be his trial. So we can't really get involved with that at all, because that trial must, of course, unfold in the most impartial circumstances, and neither the press nor the people should discuss this. You know, the cops, it's a bit preachy, but I understand what they're saying. They're telling people, don't start talking about this on social media, don't start speculating. And, you know, I don't want to get too pompous about it myself, but the reason you don't want to do this is you do want justice here. And if the wrong talk gets bandied around, it could ruin the trial. He could even walk if you screw it up too badly. So I just thought I'd let you know that's the score. So father of 3, former Royal Marine, Paul Doyle, 53. We know he's a businessman. He owns his own company apparently. Lives in a nice area, cul-de-sac. Has 3 well-behaved kids apparently. And we did hear also that his wife was watching the carnage on the TV and was shocked and stunned to see, oh my God, that's my car. Well, I'll leave it at that. Now, in a little while, we're going to be talking about Robert Jenrick and his astonishing filming of himself confronting the fare bunkers who saturate this city. I mean, I go down on the tube system here, the underground system. I'm on it every day, far too much. And sometimes I wonder if anybody pays their fare. But seriously, it's the Robert Jenrick's film. It's kind of uplifting in a way. You'll see what I mean. But he's making a very good point. It's all about broken Britain. Why doesn't anybody obey the law? If you let people get away with the small laws, like smoking a joint on the street or not paying your tube train fare, if you let, you know, that creates and propagates a sense of lawlessness, and I think that's the point Robert Jenrick was trying to make. I was going to talk to Herbie and Harrow. Herbie and Harrow, if you're listening, I'll come to you later because Isabel Oakeshott is on the line. She's going to join us now. So a warm welcome to our international editor here at Talk, Isabel Oakeshott. Hi, Isabel.
Good evening, Kev. There's so many great stories to talk about tonight, aren't there? I can't wait to talk about the fare dodgers, because I've had my own experience of that one as well.
Right, well, by an extraordinary coincidence, that's what we're going to talk about now. So let's just, without further ado, play this astonishing film that Jenrick made of himself. Watch this.
Excuse me, do you think it's all right not to pay? Seriously, why do you go back through the barrier and pay? Do you want to go back and pay like everybody else? Do you think it's all right not to pay? Why don't you go back and pay? You can say off as much as you want. But everyone else has to pay. You're carrying a knife, you say? Nearly 1 in 25 people using London's public transport aren't paying for it. So there's 8 officers down there, but 1 minute away, that gate's wide open. It's also just annoying watching so many people break the law and get away with it. Or at least most of it. Right, should we go over here to these guys here? Excuse me, gents.
Hello, hello.
You're on camera, mate. You're bang to rights.
Just step to the side and...
All right, thanks very much, guys. It's the same with bike theft, phone theft, tool theft, shoplifting, drugs in town centres, weird Turkish barber shops. It's all chipping away at society. The state needs to reassert itself and go after lawbreakers.
Well, that, Isabel, was one of the most impressive bits of opposition politics I've ever seen. Good for Robert Jenrick, the shadow Justice Secretary, getting out, unlike so many MPs, getting out of the Westminster bubble and confronting real life. And every single person who lives in London, and uses the tube system like you do, will recognise that. And it is so infuriating for those of us who do pay our fares that these people, they just all the time, they tailgate you, bash through as you go through, and all the time the Transport for London staff just watching, doing nothing about it. So good for Robert Jenrick.
Well, all credit to Robert Jenrick. I thought that was a fantastic piece of work, and it's exactly what opposition politicians should be doing, getting out there and telling it as it is. And as he rightly said in that clip that you played there, it isn't just about not paying your tube fare. It's about all the other so-called petty stuff that just seems to be, waved through, nodded by, as if it's no big deal at all. And I've had my own experience of this. I was asked by somebody how to get somewhere. They asked me for directions, and I noticed that they were following me, and I was okay about that. I was being really nice to them, trying to help them on their way. They were taking a train. They were in central London trying to take a train somewhere, Cambridge or something. And the guy tailgated me through the barriers. And I sort of said, no, hang on a minute, you've got to pay. And when he didn't, I basically kind of alerted the London Underground staff, who frankly just didn't give a monkeys about it. And everything breaks down if we all just tolerate this. And I genuinely feel that more people should do what Robert Jenrick is doing. I know most people won't feel that they can, or they don't feel that they have the place to do it. But if everybody actually made a stand on this and exerted some peer pressure and said, look, it isn't acceptable for you to just bust through the barriers. Why should you just do that and the rest of us pay? Then there's a kind of peer pressure is exerted and these things become socially unacceptable.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a technique. I can't always be bothered, but, when I get particularly annoyed and you can feel them on your shoulder, they're going to come through. So when I get to the barrier, I just go like that and stop so they can't go through. And then I tend to turn around and then I go through. Don't let them through, and turn around and say, pay your effing fare. And they get very, couldn't care less. They just move on to the next barrier and do it. But sometimes when you stop them, I go like this. They get really annoying. They go, oi, mate, get out of the way, get out of the way. No. The thing is, I've got a ticket. I bought it and you haven't. They have a very entitled attitude to this mass bunking of fares because, as you say, Isabel, the Transport for London staff don't do anything about it. The other day at London Bridge Station here, where we have to get off to get to Talk Towers, this happened to me, and a guy came bursting through, and I sort of turned around and looked at some station staff guy, and he was sort of giggling a bit, and I laughed at him. And I went over to him and said, well, why don't you do anything about this? Why don't you sort of stop him? And he said, well, we're told not to. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you know, they could have a knife. You see, so
we can't all live like this.
Exactly. These small crimes begat big crimes. When you get tolerant to this, when you get tolerant about people smoking weed on the street, it gets worse. Pretty soon you've got stabbings, you've got rapes, you've got violent attacks, you've got bank robberies, you've got mass shoplifting. Small crimes begat big crimes. That's our problem.
Everybody has got to step up and stop just being passive about this. You know, far too many people are too afraid, and the whole thing, oh, they might have a knife. Well, yeah, they might do. And the more we all do nothing, the more likely it is that they will have a knife in order to have a go at the very person that stands up. So I just think that what Robert Jenrick did today was fantastic. And I appeal to people that where you feel you can, do confront law breaking when you see it. I do it. It isn't always particularly easy. But if you see someone shoplifting, call it out. Go and alert the security guys. And if the security guys say they're not doing anything, well, get in touch with their bosses. You know, what is the point of employing scarecrows in these positions? Sometimes they're not even scarecrows, you know, because they're barely even paying any attention to what's going on at all. In fact, in Robert Jenrick's video, you can see a member of staff just basically having their feet up, doing absolutely nothing in the office.
Well, they don't do anything.
This is on all of us. This is on all of us to call out antisocial behaviour. And I'm including in that calling out the people that think it's absolutely fine to play loud music or their TikTok or whatever on speaker, on the train. I mean, that just spoils the journey for everyone else. Why the hell should you get away with that?
Exactly right. They ban smoking on trains, but you can eat fish and chips covered in vinegar and God knows what. Some of the food that people eat, but that's a different issue. I'll tell you what slightly worries me about this kind of acceptance, allowing these people, thousands and thousands, every day, in every way, hour after hour, day after day, thousands and thousands and thousands of criminal commuters just burst through the barriers in tube stations. And the reason, half the reason I think that TfL just turn a blind eye, it'll be because the boss of TfL, Sadiq Khan, will think that these people, these poor people who can't afford their fare, these poor waifs and strays, we must feel sympathy for them. Don't be too harsh on them. Be kind. Come on. This is the same guy who thinks it should be completely illegal to walk around smoking weed on your way to work in the morning.
Yeah, well, look what results he's got for the great capital city, London. Look at how London is, you know, compared to how it was a few years ago. The mess, the degradation, the homeless people, the stabbings, the drunks, the druggies. You know, yes, some of those have always been there, but I haven't seen London get better under Sadiq Khan. I tell you what, I have seen an awful lot of woke campaigns about London being for everyone and trans nonsense and Black History Month and God knows what else.
Yeah, it's hard to get around London now on the train system because Sadiq Khan has renamed half the lines, you know, Suffragette line, Windrush line, and you go, so which line, people go, which line did this used to be? Because nobody knows what Windrush or Suffragette, where they are anymore. So that's Sadiq Khan just ruining this city. He is an utter disgrace. The sense of decline in this still great city is pervasive. and it's a tragedy. This was the greatest city on earth. It's turning into a complete disaster, and that's thanks to this little pipsqueak, useless mayor, Sadiq idiot. Robert Jenrick, though, went after this brilliant... there he is. Hello, Sadiq. Lovely to see you. Robert Jenrick went on to Ian Collins' show right here on Talk this afternoon. Here he is talking about this sense of broken Britain that we've just been discussing, Isabel.
I do think there's a sense of broken Britain where people who do play by the rules are watching as others flagrantly breach them, and the public realm, the places that we live in and work in, feel like they are deteriorating as a result of an epidemic of shoplifting, mobile phones being stolen, shops like American candy stores and Turkish barbers proliferating on the high street, and people rightly asking questions about what is the demand for these, or are they just a front in some cases for money laundering or organised crime or illegal migration. And I think the state's got to reassert itself. It's got to have authority and respect again so that people play by the rules, and we restore confidence for people to go out and about in their communities and to feel that these are clean and safe places once again.
Well, perfectly put. Exactly what we were just saying, Isabel. Seems a little cruel, but I cannot avoid asking you this. I mean, this was great politics. Robert Jenrick becoming a tour de force for the Tories, arguably their only impressive politician. And I have to say this, I don't take any relish in this, but he is so much more impressive than Kemi Badenoch. If they could stand any chance of survival, the Tories, and it's an outside chance, I think now, they need to flip it. They need to make him the leader, don't they?
Well, I mean, clearly he wants the job, but equally there are others around him who know that it's a poison chalice. Do you actually want to take on the job right now when the Tories are...
Got a great job for you. It's captain of the Titanic. How do you fancy it? Yeah.
Falling in the teens, I'm not sure. Maybe you should just join the party that's actually going up, and that is Reform. And I think he's probably got a dilemma there. But I think he is very impressive, and I want my politicians, as a voter, I want politicians to be doing exactly the kind of thing that he did with that campaign.
I'd love him to cross the floor and join Reform. I think most of the things he says, his attitude to the migrant crisis, law and order, as we were just hearing, they fit absolutely perfectly into Reform's ethos. So I don't think he'd have any cultural or philosophical problems joining Reform, but I guess he's probably still got some kind of historical loyalty to the Tories, and maybe he thinks he can save the sinking ship, but I think that's a long shot. But interesting times. But once again, let's not get too political at this point. Let's just pay tribute to Robert Jenrick for a fantastic bit of politics. I just wish more of those sclerotic old MPs who just sit around on the backbench going, shame, shame, shame. Well, get out of those green benches and onto the streets and find out what's going on. So here's to Robert Jenrick there. When we come back, we're going to be talking about... What are we going to be talking about, for God's sake? Sorry. I know what we're going to be talking about. I'm talking myself down. I did an exclusive interview with Elon Musk's father, Errol Musk. We'll go through some of the highlights, and of course, Isabel, we'll discuss today's interesting development that basically Elon Musk has quit the White House. He's quit as the leader of Doge, and he's not happy, actually. He fears for the future of his efficiency drive. So a little cooling of the water between him and Donald Trump. We'll talk about that and listen to Errol Musk when we come back.
Joe Biden, as you know, recently announced that he has cancer.
Yeah.
And he mysteriously discovered he had cancer the weekend that this horrible book came out about how he was having And everyone goes, that's BS.
Weekend at Bernie's, probably.
Yeah, the prostate cancer he has is slow onset. He clearly had it for months, probably years, whatever. And people started asking, well, why didn't someone give him a prostate exam? Because I don't know about you, man. If I go anywhere near a doctor, he's got the jelly out. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor Isabel Oakeshott. Yeah, Isabel, I sat down a couple of days ago with Elon Musk for 30 fascinating minutes. Elon Musk, I keep calling him Elon, I mean Errol Musk, Elon's father. Interesting guy, colourful life. So what we're going to play now is just a few highlights. For everybody, you can see fuller excerpts of this amazing exclusive interview tomorrow night on my TV show What Just Happened at 9 o'clock, and after that at any time you like on YouTube. We'll also be putting it out as a full package as well. But boy oh boy, he's lived an unusual life. Here's some of the edited highlights.
It's my 70th birthday. They came to Cape Town with about 50 Americans, and we had this big birthday party for me. And after the lunch, the one chap, his name is Favreau, John Favreau, he said to me, so I believe you support Trump. This was just before the election in 2016.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, and everybody broke out into raucous laughter. And then when they finished laughing, he said, well, why do you support Trump? And I said, well, I think he's good. He's a businessman, much better than a career politician.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so forth, or a career, bureaucrat. And much better. And they all laughed their heads off. They said, no, he's a con man, he's a thief, he's a crook, he's this, he's that. And they all,
Trump derangement syndrome.
They left me sitting there. And then after that, they all we had actually sequestered a whole block for that thing, And they all went off to their private vans and stuff to go back to their hotels and stuff. And then Elon and Kimmel came and came down on me, how could I be so stupid? Couldn't you say, I don't know, don't you realize how you embarrassed us? Trump is evil.
They were saying that, yeah.
Yes, they were saying that. And Elon was saying that, and he's evil, and you're also evil to
support him. How has it gone so much full circle? What's his journey since then?
They experienced the Biden presidency. And when they experienced the Biden presidency, they realized that this group of people were out to destroy everything of value in the United States, including their own businesses.
And how would you define Elon's politics? Because it's all too easy to
centrist.
Say he's
terribly
right-wing.
Centrist.
And you were saying earlier, though, that I think, like yourself, he has a deep-seated hatred of apartheid.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a deep-seated hatred. I mean, he just doesn't like it. It's not normal.
Fair enough.
but he's also very in favour of law and order and civilization,
Yeah.
So it's not like, he's very centrist. I'm pretty centrist. I'm inclined to be, before you're going to break something down, just make sure you've got something to replace it with first. That's called being conservative,
Yeah.
So I'm a little conservative, so before you smash down the factory, let's make sure we've got a new factory going before you
Conservative with a small c, yeah, I get that.
I don't think that's violence on my part,
How did you manage to kill 3 of them?
It's smart.
How did you kill 3 of them with 2 shots?
Well, it's a Magnum, so when you...
A Magnum? What, like in the Clint Eastwood films?
Yes.
The most powerful handgun in the...
Well, it's not the 45, it's the 375.
That's a pretty powerful gun, though.
357, right? I mean.
Yeah.
It's the 357. It's very powerful, yes, extremely powerful. And the noise from it is gross. And And after the event, with their shooting and my shooting in a closed space, the police said to me, "You're going to have hearing loss." And I said, "Oh, really?" And as it happened, I lost hearing in my right ear.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Because of that incident?
Yes. Because
so when you said about having a powerful gun and there were 3, so did one of the bullets go through one of them and into the other? Is that what happened? Good Lord. And you were tried and acquitted, presumably on the basis of self-defense?
Yeah, self-defense.
Self-defense.
Yes.
And you're protecting your 6-year-old daughter, so...
Yes, she was there. She saw the whole thing. I was just talking to her about it. She lives in Texas now. And she was saying to me, she remembers how we managed to escape. They shot the windows out, so we were able to climb out through shot windows, and we were able to hide in the grass outside, some shrubs and grass.
Yeah.
And she was telling me how she remembers how we lay in the grass and how they were searching for us while we were laying in the grass, you know.
So that, Isabel, is the man who begat the richest man in the world. An extraordinary character. Elon grew up with him, of course. In 1989 it was, because Elon's mother was Canadian-born. Elon was at Pretoria University in South Africa and didn't like it. So Errol said, well, why don't you go and study in your mother's country in Canada? So he went over to Canada, went to the University of Ottawa, and then transferred to Pennsylvania, got 2 degrees there and ended up in California, Stanford, and that's where him and his brother, Kimball, created their first company, and you know the rest is history. But it proves that Elon Musk's background is, to say the least, unusual. And one of the most interesting things about him, I mean, obviously people might not like him, but he is an extraordinary kind of genius. A man who runs 3 massive companies, has for the last 6 months or so been hand in hand with the president, sorting out the efficiency of the government, and apparently spends most of every day playing video games. So he is an extraordinary man, but when he was at school, he was quite average, you know, B grade kind of a guy. You know, Errol goes, oh, very bright guy, but nothing special. So quite a story.
I mean, it sounds like a fascinating and really wide-ranging interview. I loved hearing the clips that you played just now. I wasn't quite sure where it was going with the gun. I was impressed by your gun knowledge. You know, I don't know anything about the different types.
I know the Clint Eastwood film. You know, the Dirty Harry. This is a Magnum 500, the most powerful handgun in the world. I know what you're thinking. In all the confusion, did I fire 5 bullets or 6? Well, the question is, puts it to that guy's head and said, the question is, do you feel lucky? And anyway, so that's how I know about the Magnum. But so Errol, among his many businesses, he was a very successful businessman himself. He had interests in 3 emerald mines. He ran a horse stud farm. He had a chemical engineering company. He said that at one point, because you didn't put your money in his day in a bank in South Africa. He said you had to put it in... He had so much money, he said it was all spilling out of the cupboards. But at his stud farm, as happens in South Africa, this bunch of black guys came and tried to take the farm off him. Said, give us your farm. He's with his 6-year-old daughter. He said they start firing bullets at him, and he said, no, you're not having... Anyway, as he just said, he produced this extremely powerful handgun, shot 3 of them dead with 2 bullets, the second one going through 2 of them. So he's got all these extraordinary stories. It kind of, I suppose, begins to explain why Elon Musk is such an unusual man.
Absolutely. And Kev, I know you've sort of built up a bit of a relationship with Elon Musk's father. I know you've interviewed him a few times. So tell me, I think a lot of people will be wondering, what is his relationship like with his son? I mean, is it that they are like a little bit estranged, or are they still quite close, but they just do their own thing, or what?
It blows hot and cold. He says, Errol says at the moment they're talking most days. He said, but they go They go through phases when they don't. Now, when Elon was making the grade over in Britain, and of course things in South Africa have not been stable for a long time, to say the least, and I'm not trying to say this in a sort of racial way, but it's difficult for wealthy white people in South Africa. So Elon said, Dad and his then wife, he said, why don't you come to America? So Elon got them over to America. And, you know, there's no place like home, you know that phrase. So there they were in great wealth in wonderful sunny California. And Errol and his wife hated it. So they went back to South Africa. Now, at one point, Elon called him the most evil man in the world. You know, so they have a sort of fractious father-son relationship, but I think there's a mutual respect. And here's the interesting thing. Errol once sort of famously said, "I'm not proud of my son." Right? So I said to him in this interview, well, come on, Errol, here's your chance. Put this straight. I mean, how many fathers can say, my kid grew up to be the richest man in the world? My kid is worth $450 billion. You, come on, put the record straight. Say you're proud of your son. He goes, I wouldn't say that proud is the right word.
Oh, wow.
He said, happy.
This will be why he's so successful, because he's never been too praising of his son.
Yeah.
You know, the son is successful because he's always probably been trying to get that praise, and it's always been elusive.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you get this thing as well. You get a sort of certain competitiveness between fathers and sons. And Errol, as I say, he was a successful, quite well-known politician for a long time in South Africa as well, often on the television. As I say, made a load of money. Has had a very colourful, romantic life, to say the least. So, you know, I think he was sort of the big man in the pond, as it were. And I think possibly there are tensions over the fact that Elon has risen as high as he has and is now internationally renowned. But what I'd say is that, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, well, in Errol's background, you know, there are allegations that he wasn't very nice to his wife. There were sort of allegations of violence and stuff like that. Never proved, by the way. Well, he must be awful. I'll just say this, that I just kind of liked him. You know, I found him a likeable, interesting guy. So, as I say, tomorrow that will be on my show, What Just Happened, at 9 o'clock on this channel, and then available on YouTube anytime you like after that. But very quickly, before we move on, Isabel, your thoughts on the fact that Elon Musk did today basically quit the White House. He's left his Doge campaign to others, the Department of Government Efficiency. And there's some sort of sense that maybe him and Donald's close relationship with his first buddy has soured somewhat, because Elon Musk stated, I think it was yesterday, that the new budget bill has come up, and it's something ridiculous like, I'll look it up in a minute, but it is many, many hundreds of trillions of dollars. And Musk said, this undermines everything I've done. I'm really worried for the Doge project now. I hope it can succeed. And he also said he didn't like the way that Doge became the target for all of Trump's critics. So people who didn't like Trump came for Elon Musk. So he's leaving with a slightly soured relationship, but he wants to go back and run his businesses.
Well, I'm not really surprised at all. I mean, his businesses have taken a hammering as a result of his connection with Donald Trump. And I think both men have served a purpose for the other. And it was pretty transactional. You know, Elon Musk got a taste of what it's like to be at the heart of politics, you know, the heart of US politics, which means at the absolute nucleus of power in the world. You know, he had a ringside seat on the most extraordinary developments, the rise and the return of Donald Trump. And for his part, Trump gets the Elon Stardust, and everybody's a winner. And I didn't expect that Musk would want to carry on forever. I mean, it's pretty rare, actually, for even very successful business people, never mind someone of his caliber, to actually want to be in government for very long. It's a frustrating change from being in charge of a business where when you pull the levers, things actually happen. So I think it sort of worked out okay in the short term, and probably has perhaps even survived a bit longer than it might have done.
Yeah, I mean, it was always mooted that he would finish his tenure towards the end of May, so I suppose that has played out. But to go back to what I was just saying, Donald Trump has just delivered what he calls his big beautiful bill, and that's his spending bill. That's the money that they'll be getting through, and this is $4.5 trillion. That includes $4.5 trillion worth of tax cuts, while increasing America's deficit. The result will be a kind of $36.2 trillion debt pile. And Musk said this kind of undermines much of the work he has been doing in cost cutting. So it's kind of interesting parting of the ways, but I think it's probably for the best. You know, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. It's like that old song, you know, this town ain't big enough for the both of us. Something had to give, and I'm glad they've actually parted company, at least amiably.
For now, let's see what gets said.
For now. Listen, when we come back, we're going to talk about what we discussed last night again, this terrible case of the two bovine coppers who tasered a 92-year-old man with one leg. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, Isabel, you remember last night we talked about this shocking case. I think we'll probably play the footage as we speak. It's all on film. There's sound to it as well. This is PC Stephen Smith, 51, and PC Rachel Komoto, 36, who were yesterday cleared of assault charges, even though they beat up this poor old guy. His name was Donald Burgess. He was 92 years old. Look at that. They hit him first with their truncheons, then they pepper sprayed him, then they tasered him. Why were they doing this? Is because he was holding a little butter knife about that big. I think they were going by the book. You know, demand that he gives up the knife, and if he doesn't, you must unleash your taser gun. Well, not if he's 92 and he's only got one leg. Where was the common sense in all this? Anyway, his family today have issued a statement saying they are disappointed and saddened by the verdict after an incredibly distressing 3 years since this happened. They said the verdict adds to our sense of injustice regarding the callous manner in which Donald, a 92-year-old amputee in a wheelchair, was treated by PC Smith and PC Komoto in their brief but life-changing interaction. From the beginning, we have engaged in these legal proceedings in the hope that lessons would be learned and that violent actions like these of these officers would not be repeated against other vulnerable civilians. Well, hopefully they're going now, these two coppers, before the Independent Office for Police Conduct, and they're facing charges of gross misconduct. I don't usually like calling for people to lose their job, but these two rozzers, these two excuses for rozzers, they're not fit to wear the badge. I hope they get sacked.
I'm afraid I also hope they do, or just put to backroom duties. I don't know how any human being, never mind a police officer, could behave in such a way. The guy was clearly confused, very, very elderly, and extremely disabled. What on earth kind of person would then, you know, say, oh, stand out the way while I get a better angle so I can taser the guy? I mean, just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. They took complete leave of their senses, didn't they?
They really did, absolutely. They really did. And the poor old boy, this is the saddest part of the story, really. 22 days later, he died.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised. You know, we don't know if the one caused the other, but that was tremendously traumatic. I don't know why he was holding the knife. It would be interesting to know what his family say about that. You know, had he just finished eating dinner? Was he feeling threatened? In a sense, it doesn't matter. It's a hole in the story, but it doesn't matter. He's stuck there in his chair. We can see how vulnerable he is, because when they're threatening him, he can't do anything. I mean, he can't get out his chair and make a run for it. You know, he's 90, whatever he is.
That's what I kept saying. I mean, what were they worried about? He was going to hop away or something. And prosecutors, they said that Donald Burgess was threatening staff at the care home with a serrated cutlery knife. As I say, that is an exaggeration. It was about that. It was a butter knife, one of those things that probably wouldn't even penetrate your skin. He was telling the staff he would take pleasure in murdering them, and you know, that was really the situation. But he's 92, he's in a wheelchair, obviously maybe a little bit of a cantankerous old soul. But the way to treat this, as we discussed last night, you know, you'd have done the same as me. You could have disarmed that guy. I would have walked over to him and said, Donald, give me the damn knife and stop being so stupid. That's it. That's what those coppers should have done.
That's it. And they showed themselves to be total and utter wimps, didn't they? I mean, just unmanly or unwomanly, because I think you said one of them was a woman. Come on, what kind of real man or real woman or real person with any heart would behave like that? Couldn't have been difficult. Just walk over, gently take the knife or firmly take the knife and offer the old guy a cup of tea and a hug, which is probably what...
And do you know what PC Komoto, the WPC, Rachel Komoto, told the care home manager after this shocking incident? Steve Cooper was his name. Komoto says, well, we don't like doing that at all. But what?
Well, then don't do it. How about that?
You didn't wait for the payoff. Check this out. We don't like doing that at all. But what can you do?
Everything else but that.
What you can do is show a bit of common sense. That's what infuriates me about that. That is a common sense free scene. A couple of automaton coppers going by the book. One of them's 53 years old, a career officer. And you'll know what it says in the book. Instruct the suspect to give up the knife, say it firmly twice, and if they don't do so, warn them you will discharge your taser and then do so. You know, yeah, OK, if it's a 6'5" bank robber with a machine gun, but not if it's a 92-year-old man with one leg sitting in a wheelchair in a care home. I mean, come on. I say... I hate calling for people to lose their jobs, and I don't like coppers having to face double discipline, going into a court of law and then a police disciplinary committee. But in this instance, I'm prepared to make an exception, and I don't think either of those coppers are fit to wear the badge. For that decision alone, get the hell out of it. Get a job in Civvy Street, really. At a care home, maybe. Learn the error of your ways. Isabel, we're going to go now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about another one of these cases that I know is going to enrage you, will enrage everybody, I think. It's a Pakistani heroin dealer with 21 convictions who has escaped deportation, will not be deported because, of course, ECHR rules. He's got a right to a family life. Isn't that special? We'll talk about that next. Stay where you are.
in the wake of the Southport attack. We were being fed the line that this was a Welsh choir boy from Cardiff who'd committed the atrocity. Well, that kind of nonsense has got to stop. And if the police...
Yeah, I mean, I think Rachel Reeves the architect of her own downfall, which I think is what you allude to, Mike.
Yes.
I mean, you know, they came in on the back of wanting more economic growth, and yet sort of spent the first 6 months talking the economy down, then whacking it with a huge amount of tax and spend, £76 billion a year of tax and spend, which will mean businesses have less to invest, which is clearly where you get growth from. And now you've got all this red tape coming down the track in the employment rights bills.
I appreciate that people who lose rapid amounts of weight without eating the correct vitamins and proteins and minerals are going to end up with osteoporosis, because obviously, you know, you need all these things. You need protein, and you need calcium, and you need vitamin D to keep your bones.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Well, Isabel, here we go again. A Pakistani drug dealer has been allowed to remain in the UK because of his role in talking to his son about Islam and culture, and his culture. The Home Office quite rightly ordered the deportation of Mohammed Asif Karim, 43, after he amassed 7 convictions for a total of 21 offences. He was a heroin dealer and a cocaine dealer. He served a 4-year jail sentence for that. He came out, of course, the Home Office said, right, you're out. But no, he's won his appeal for removal. Another one of these immigration tribunal judges, these Guardian readers masquerading as impartial judges, they accepted that it would breach Mohammed's human rights to a family life under, drumroll, you know where the rest is coming from, don't you? Under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. The upper tribunal, this is the appeal tribunal, accepted it would be, quote, unduly harsh on his son if he was to be deported to Pakistan, even though the child was largely being brought up by his white British mother. And the son gave evidence to the immigration court. You can almost see the judges weeping with sympathy, can't you? As the son said, my dad is able to talk to me about Islam, about Pakistani culture and his own upbringing. So bloody what? This is just every single time, every single one of these, it seems to be more egregious than the last one, doesn't it?
Every single one of these cases reinforces the argument that we've just got to get out of this thing. It's time and again, it just goes against the public interest, the national interest, and it seems to put people's so-called right to a family life above all else. I mean, what about the right to a family life of all the people, all the children of those whose lives have fallen apart as a result of heroin addiction? You said the guy's he was a heroin dealer. Is that right?
Yeah, heroin and cocaine dealer. This was his main offence. He had 7 convictions for a total of 21 offences, the main ones being supplying Class A drugs, heroin and cocaine, and he served a 4-year jail sentence for that.
There you go. So, I mean, this is no small matter, is it?
No, it's ridiculous.
On the most dangerous drug on the planet, recreational drug on the planet. You know, feed people their heroin and they become addicted. And trust me, they don't make good parents. So it seems like the judges in these cases, or the whoever reaches these decisions, doesn't seem to think beyond the box. You know, what about the victims of the crimes that these people have committed?
Yeah.
And there'll be an untold number of victims of heroin addiction at the hands of this guy. This guy should never have been allowed to not be deported after 1 or 2 offences. I mean, in my own view, if you come to the UK and you commit a significant offence, you don't get 2 chances, you don't get 3 chances, you certainly don't get 7 or 8 chances. You're out. It's the only way to operate a system. Once people know that's what happens, if they value living in the UK, they're not going to break the law.
You can just see it, can't you? Some Guardian reading idiot with a wig. Actually, I don't think these judges in the tribunal courts do wear wigs, but you can just see some Guardian reading idiot sitting there up on the bench with his or her eyes misting up. As the defence lawyers said, it's very important that this man, Mohammed Asif Karim, is able to stay here because he is able to talk to his son about Islam and Pakistani culture. I mean,
well, I think he might be better able to talk about that if he was actually in his country of origin.
Go back to Pakistan, and give your son a phone call or Zoom, something like that. Try that. Now, this comes, of course, on the back of the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, only last week, I do believe it was, announcing plans to curb judges' powers to block deportations like this with new legally enforced, and I quote, common sense rules to clarify how judges interpret Article 8 of the ECHR to strengthen the public interest test. Now look, this is ridiculous. These judges, you can't tell them how to interpret Clause 8, Article 8. This is, as I say, is the right to a family life. So paedophiles, convicted paedophiles, foreigners, asylum seekers who came here, many of them who broke into the country illegally but were outrageously allowed to stay. Then they go and abuse our courtesy by sexually abusing our children. They go to jail for 5 years, 4 years, whatever. They come out. Of course, they should be immediately deported to wherever they came from, their homeland. And invariably, they're allowed to say, because they got their own kids. So they're allowed to say because they're right to their own family life. And we only heard recently, of course, you know, the doozy of them all, that father who was able to stay here, an Albanian criminal who just got out of jail. He was able to stay, avoid deportation, because to send him back, he'd have to take his family back to Albania, and his son doesn't like foreign chicken nuggets. I mean, these are the kind of excuses that are enabling these criminals, these dangerous criminals, to stay in this country, courtesy of these absolute moron, idiot judges. You cannot tell these judges how to interpret this. The only way, Yvette, if you're watching, which is unlikely, Yvette Cooper, if you're watching, the only way you can stop this scandal, this ongoing scandal of dangerous people being allowed to stay in this country, is to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. So no more can a foreign court, the European Court of Human Rights, order us around, tell us what to do, and reverse our own decisions. You've got to leave the ECHR, otherwise this situation will go on and on and on.
Well, the last government, the Tory government, are as culpable here. I mean, they had years and years and years and years into which they could have done this, and one Tory Prime Minister and leadership candidate, hopeful after another, always said, I think we should consider leaving the ECHR. Always dangled it, always said that they were toying with the idea they might if it was really necessary. It's been overwhelmingly demonstrated that it is necessary, but it's not going to happen under this government, because Keir Starmer, human rights lawyer by background, doesn't want to be outside the cosy club of human rights obsessives. He would feel as if he was some kind of pariah if he did this. I tell you now, if he did it, it might just begin to turn around his plummeting poll ratings.
But he won't. And it's absolutely absurd for Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, to say she's going to, or she has announced powers to curb the way judges do this with new legally enforced common sense rules. Well, look, the whole point about the ECHR is we are subordinate to it. We cannot make If you're going to obey the rules of the ECHR, we, Little Britain, cannot make rules that are superior to their rules. This is the problem with the ECHR. We are always subordinate to it. Any decision we make, the ECHR can make a decision to reverse that. So, telling judges, hey, you know, can you stop letting these pedos stay? You know, on the QT. Could you just stop doing that? They're not going to. That's no good. And also, I'm not saying I've got sympathy for them, but they're judges and they are going by the rules of the ECHR, which successive governments and the current one continue to sign up to. Unless we leave that foreign court, then we will never be able to sort this situation out. In fact, unless we leave the ECHR, among a few other things, we have no chance whatsoever of ever solving the migrant crisis, right?
Completely. I mean, there was a case last week, I think it was, of a man who wasn't deported, a serial offender who wasn't deported because it would affect his ability to bond with his son. And in particular, he wouldn't be able to cut his hair remotely. Apparently, this is one of the things that
cut his hair remotely. Yeah.
Little boy used to give him haircuts, but that could not happen by Zoom. Well, diddums.
Yeah.
You know, this is just an absolute nonsense, this stuff. I get that reporters sometimes take a single line out of a judgment and make it sound ridiculous, but the whole thing is ridiculous, and we've got to keep exposing these cases. And, you know, public anger over this is really mounting. And, you know, what people have to do is vote for a party that says it actually will leave the ECHR, not that it's going to consider leaving the ECHR.
A final word about our friend Mohammed Asif Karim, the enthusiastic heroin dealer. He came here in 1988 on a visitor's visa and never went back. So it's just this place. We have no borders to speak of. Keir Starmer, if he doesn't leave the ECHR, if he doesn't get a grip on this, he thinks his big problem is kind of economic and the rise of reform. Those are big problems for him, but a massive problem is the migrant crisis, and if he doesn't set about some serious measures to solve it, first of which must be leaving the ECHR, he's already finished. I think he kind of knows that. It's just ridiculous, Great to talk to you, Isabel, as always. I'll talk to you next week. Have a great weekend. That's Isabel Oakeshott, Talks International editor. When we come back, let me know what you think about that, by the way. Get on the phone, 0344 499 1000. Heroin dealer, allowed to stay because he needs to talk to his son about Pakistan and Islam. Great! 0344 499 1000. When we come back after the news, I'm going to be talking to Kinsey Schofield about Meghan. She's made a most extraordinary announcement. You won't believe it. So stay tuned for that next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the final hour of tonight's Political Asylum. 60 sizzling minutes still to go. In a little while, about 20-25 minutes, I want to take your calls. I've got lots lined up. Send me your messages, send me your WhatsApp voice notes, and get on the phone. Claire from the Wirral is just ringing up now. She's a good caller. We'll have a word with her later. So, you know what we're talking about? We're talking about the continued failure to solve the migrant crisis. We're talking about Keir's panic-stricken speech trying to denounce Nigel Farage's plans for a better tax break economic future for Britain. Where's he going to find the money? He keeps telling you, Keir. He's going to ditch all net zero and all diversity, and he's going to stop the migrants coming, no more asylum hotels. He's going to save 60, 70 billion quid. Stop acting like he isn't telling you. He's telling us, we know. You're just pretending you're not hearing this because you keep pouring billions and billions and billions of pounds down the green diversity drain, and we are sick of it. Are you sick of it? Let me know. 0344 499 1000. And a word perhaps about Robert Jenrick. He's right, isn't he? He made that fantastic film about fare bunkers. Yesterday we got the Mayor of London saying, oh, why don't we let people smoke weed? Don't decriminalise possession of cannabis. You know, this kind of increasing lawlessness, not bothering to enforce the small laws. Well, that is going to give way to big laws being broken. In fact, it is. If you let shoplifting happen fairly soon, you'll let violence on the street happen, you'll let robberies happen, you'll let stabbings happen. In fact, we are letting all that happen, aren't we? 0344 499 1000. Should we legalise cannabis or not? 0344 499 1000. Now, it is time to go over to my favourite American. She is the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. And the reason it's called Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered is because it's hosted by Kinsey Schofield, who joins me now. Hi, Kins.
You know, I do not want to hear this from the political asylum with Kevin O'Sullivan's Kevin O'Sullivan, okay?
Yeah, that's true. That's what they call it, because that's my name, yeah. And the Kinsey Schofield is called that Unfiltered because that's your name. Right, we've sorted that out. Let's move on. We discussed this the other day on your excellent podcast. Recollections might vary, but, you know, almost quietly, Meghan, our friend Meghan, this week made the most astonishing announcement, which was effectively, as ever, right, the sort of sad, simpering sequel to that non-starter American Riviera Orchard. So what was it, for a year and a half or something? American Riviera Orchard, I'm going to sell you my jam and my honey, and it's going to be, here's a TV show. Oh, wait a minute, I can't call it American Riviera Orchard. All right, then, got a new name, as ever. How's that? Yeah, that'll do. This was, 2 months ago? Buy my jam, buy my honey. It's only $14 a jar. Ooh, that's cheap. 2 months on from that, this week, she announced effectively she's closing up shop, shutting up shop. As ever is never. It's over. As never. There's no happy ever after for as ever. She's literally closed it down. She said, I might. What did she say? Most remarkable statement. She said, I'm stepping back to figure out what as ever could be. What are you talking? Don't you think, Meghan? Just maybe. You should have figured out what as ever could be before you launched the business. Is it me, or is that kind of incoherent thinking, dysfunctionalism of the highest order? The dysfunctional Duchess who couldn't, she says she runs businesses, the woman couldn't run a bath.
Well, no, because she's allegedly, potentially being sued for her bath salts that she promoted on Netflix. So I wouldn't trust her around bathwater either. That's a very good point. when it comes, yeah, so the quote she actually said, first of all, I just want to say this Fast Company profile, while you read it and you can tell
Fast Company, just let me just explain. Fast Company is the magazine. She gave an interview in which she made this extraordinary revelation. That's what we're talking about. And so it's Fast Company magazine. Sorry, Kinsey, carry on.
Yeah. The Fast Company magazine profile, even though you can tell that the journalist is in on telling Meghan's side of things and is eager to share Meghan's version of events, this is very one-sided, no challenging whatsoever. I truly feel like this set Meghan back. Despite the butt kissing, this really seems to have started people like you and I. First of all, you can tell she's speaking directly to us, and this is classic Harry and Meghan utilizing their friends in the media to respond to criticism. Every week I was talking to you, when is she going to restock? When is she going to restock? So this is her way to answer some of her critics, and she did say she was stepping back to figure things out. She says she's planning to announce new products in the first quarter of 2026. But anyone in their right mind looks at the momentum that was built and the chaos surrounding the launch after launch after launch of products from Meghan. First of all, she kicks off the new year as Tiggy Legberg, Pettifer now, as she loses her stepson, I believe, in the horrific New Orleans attacks. We believe that Tiggy is Archie's godmother. We know that Tiggy is very important to Harry and Prince William because she was their nanny and really loved on them after the death of Princess Diana. She loses an important member of her family, and that's the day Meghan decides to launch her Instagram account. And with this Instagram account, she leaks and she lets us know what's going on with her professionally. We find out about As Ever through this Instagram account just a few days after that accident that involved Tiggy's son. And then we get back to back With Love, Meghan, Confessions of a Female Founder, As Ever, Meghan launching affiliate links through her Instagram account where she's selling some of the clothes she's wearing, some of her favorite makeup products. She gets a cut from everything she sells if you shop through these affiliate links. She starts doing more and more media. I mean, she's done more media this year, I think, than she has since she stepped away from the British royal family. She's had 5 years to determine what she wants As Ever to be. She had 2 years where we were all masked up and stuck in our homes to create some sort of strategy. And this Fast Company profile has really highlighted the instability that surrounds this brand.
Yeah.
What we loved about Queen Elizabeth was that stability, was the comfort we had in knowing that we were going to get what we got. We just were so confident in her. She never let us down. And Harry and Meghan are so unstable to the point where you feel like you're on a roller coaster. They try to celebrate this in a way when they talk about she's got a lot of titles these days in the profile: Duchess of Sussex, a podcaster, a philanthropist, a children's book author, the star of a Netflix show, the founder of a direct-to-consumer startup. There's no consistency there. You're all over the place.
Yeah, and actually, you just reeled off that blizzard of titles she gives herself. But actually, now that As Ever has shut up shop, her podcast, her dreadfully dull podcast, which was a flop, Confessions of a Female Founder, that kind of ended this week amid a sea of apathy all over the world. Nobody gave a damn about that. That won't be back. They say there might be a third series of With Love, Meghan. Frankly, Kinsey, I'll believe that when I see it. I don't see that happening at all. So she got nothing going on. She got a blizzard of titles, but nothing going on. Now,
we should acknowledge the podcast. They say in this, again, I think that they set her back with this fast. I think that we have to acknowledge how much this Fast Company article set her back. They say there's interest in doing a second season of Confessions of a Female Founder. And many female founders have approached her to be a guest on the series, but this is a huge but, this sentence that follows, but Meghan is now involved in such a wide range of projects.
Nothing.
She's sure to find some way to tell her story. That is Meghan's out. That last sentence. She's sure to find a way. There were only 800,000 downloads since Meghan started her podcast in April.
Which is pathetic. We got a clip from it. This is her signing.
Well, don't do that to me yet. Don't do that to me yet.
All right, then, go on then.
Lemonada's ad partner is Gretchen Rubin Media, and they generally pay between $25 to $50 per 1,000 downloads. Meghan would get the high end because of name recognition, but based on the analytics that Fast Company gives us, Meghan's made approximately $40,000 for season 1. That's not Spotify money. That's not billionaire status. That's too much work for Meghan to do.
That doesn't even pay for her full-time nanny, does it?
No.
I mean, for God's sake.
I think that she would be so disappointed by those numbers that she would call it a day and say it's too much work, it's too much criticism. I don't feel like there's enough value in that. And in that last podcast episode, she talks about this fear of not having enough money. Some people have been like, oh, Meghan says she feels guilty for being rich. That's not that guilt mentality. I don't hear that at all. I hear the sentence, there's a scarcity mindset. Yeah. There's a scarcity mindset. I'll never have enough.
Yeah. I think she feels...
We witnessed that with all of these brands coming out.
I think she feels guilty for not having enough money, not having money. Let's have a look at this. Apparently, I haven't seen it myself, but apparently this is sort of the end of Confessions of a Female Founder. The closing statement. Drum roll. Here it comes.
And through it all, I'm building a business of my own and getting all sorts of practical advice along the way that I'm very excited to share with you. So join me for Confessions of a Female Founder from Lemonada Media, which, by the way, is also female-founded. Launching April 8th, wherever you get your podcasts. Let's do this.
Well, that was supposed to be the closing statement. That looked like the beginning statement. Can we get the closing statement, please? Anyway, the point is, we'll come back to that. Nice bit of professionalism there. Not the closing statement, the opening statement. But here we are. When she's announcing, Kinsey, the end of As Ever, which, as I say, I still find absolutely jaw-dropping. The whole backbone, the bedrock of everything she's been doing for the past 2 years, bang, didn't work, right, over. This is what she said in this interview with Fast Company magazine. It was, so she said, if I had to write a resume, I don't know what I would call myself, because she's so busy, she's got so many things going on. So when she said, if I had to write a resume, I don't know what I would call myself, I was thinking, well, I've got a few ideas, but this is a family show, so let's keep it clean. But seriously, she then goes on to say this gobbledygook, this sort of psychobabble Californian claptrap. No offence to your fine state, used to live there myself, but you know what I'm talking about.
I'm a Texan.
Yeah, there you go. There are people who live in California who speak in a strange kind of way, and she's one of them. It's not really English, it's gobbledygook. This is what she said. If I had to write a resume, I don't know what I'd call myself. I think it speaks to this chapter many of us find ourselves in, where none of us are one note, but I believe all the notes I am playing are part of the same song. So I'll just read that again in English. I think
Please don't.
I think it speaks to this chapter many of us find ourselves in, where none of us are one note, but I believe all the notes I am playing are part of the same song. What does that even mean? Does she know?
I think it means Meghan Markle, season 574 of The Masked Singer. Apparently, Meghan wants to be a pop star now. Talking a lot about notes. I don't know. I don't know. I think that, again, I feel like she talks to people like us through a lot of these interviews, and she's talking to her critics, and the power of yet. She's not successful yet. I don't know if you remember that.
Did she say the power of yet?
Yes, the power of yet. She's not successful yet. This hasn't happened yet, which was she actually stole from a 2014 TED Talk. She ripped that off from a 2014 TED Talk. So it's not even original. Even no matter how annoying it is, it's still not an original thought. I think she's trying to make excuses for her failures. And Fast Company magazine is not where you do that. I think this interview really set her back. But I have noticed through all the interviews she's done in 2025 and the podcasts, I think that she prefers to be interviewed. I don't think she likes to interview people because she's so obsessed with talking about herself.
Yeah,
she doesn't
I agree with
like
that.
being criticized for the way she hijacks interviews. And I just don't think she liked the podcast process.
No, I totally agree. But as I say, she doesn't. Confessions of a Founder, I can't see that coming back because it has failed. It fell out of the top 100 podcast charts in about 6 seconds and is now at around about number 500,000 in the world. So hardly anybody watched or listened to that. I don't think they've already filmed the second series of With Love Meghan for Netflix. Well, they filmed that at the same time as the first series, so they might as well screen it. They'll screen it in September. But the numbers, the ratings for the first series were pretty feeble, so they're only going to screen it because they've got it. They got it in the can. And I suspect that this talk of a third series is coming straight out of the Meghan spin machine. I don't think that's going to happen. So no podcast, no lifestyle site as ever business, no TV series, nothing. She's got nothing going on. She is right down there with her husband when it comes to a nada lifestyle. She's got nothing going on.
Ted Sarandos has no reason to continue to protect her if she violates violates the contract or violates the relationship that Netflix has with As Ever. You know, she talks a lot about this partnership. I think still at the end of the day, Netflix is her boss. And if she really throws As Ever to the side or doesn't make it a priority, then Netflix has no reason to continue to stroke her ego with this series that was just absolutely destroyed by the critics. And the way that here's my argument. Meghan was so quick to tell us there was a season 2 coming of With Love Meghan on Netflix. Where is the announcement about Confessions of a Female Founder? Now, I've argued that I think she shut down the criticism of With Love Meghan by prematurely announcing season 2 was on the way, so the people that were parodying her and people that were poking fun at her would have to shut up because there was a new headline on the horizon. But she announced her relationship with Limonada over a year before she actually produced an episode for them. It took her, over a year to produce 8 episodes for them. They announced that so early on in their relationship. Why wouldn't they announce that season 2 was coming? Why are we still waiting for that?
Why would there be a season 2? I mean, it was unlistenable, unwatchable. It was boring. It was toweringly tedious. And the ratings, the viewing figures or the consumer figures revealed that. You know, people were bored. It was boring. You know, it was her idea of, you know, she's a successful tycoon. I'll talk to other female successful tycoons. Now, they may well be that. She's not. She's not a successful tycoon. She wants to be, but she sure as hell isn't. Meanwhile, where's old Ginger Nuts? While her world falls apart at the seams, his world barely exists anymore. So he suddenly, while his dad, the king, he's a strange father, the king, was staging his triumphant state visit to Canada, a real triumph. Harry tries to steal a few headlines, steal the limelight on his dad, by flying to China, his first ever visit to China. Shanghai, the Shanghai surprise. It was a surprise. He turned up. They didn't expect it to. He went there for Trip.com, and apparently also in tandem
I
with...
wish you wouldn't have said that, because I feel like that's why people hire him, for that one reference, that they're getting their money's worth. We just advertised the people, because I think he was paid for this trip.
Oh,
I refuse to say it. If I think that they're getting paid for it, I won't even acknowledge the brand. I'm just like, idiot showed up in China.
Well, yeah, Idiot showed up in China, and it was also to promote his company that he allegedly co-founded. Yeah, right. Called Travelist, which is a company that promotes environmentally friendly travel. So you travel the world, but you don't damage the planet. So it's in Shanghai. How do you think he got there? Do you think he went by sailboat? Or did he go first class on a planet-destroying passenger jet, or even worse, on a private jet? This guy is a world-class hypocrite, isn't he?
Look, I think that there is a lot of truth to the Mail on Sunday's piece about Prince Harry. Yes, he's a hypocrite, absolutely. But when we talk about where Prince Harry is at right now, mentally, I really believe the Mail on Sunday piece about how Prince Harry is obsessed with his negative press, increasingly weary of the negative publicity he and Meghan have attracted. And here you have a great example of your actions attracting those negative headlines.
Yes, exactly.
You want to talk about sustainability? Well, I know that you just
Zoom. Try Zoom.
12,000, yeah, Zoom, between 12,000 and maybe 14,000 miles to have this conversation in person. That could have been an email.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It could have been
or Zoom. He didn't have to fly there. And as I say, you just know he either went first class, which is really environmentally unfriendly, or even worse, private jet. He didn't go by sailboat. He didn't go on a bicycle, trust me. So that is hypocrisy incarnate. We can, though, drum roll, don't get too excited, but we can bring you a little exit from the pompous climate change speech he made. Check it out.
Firstly, I want to thank Trip.com Group for inviting me to be here with you today. Trip.com's mission statement, which is to pursue the perfect trip for a better world, is closely aligned to our commitment at Travelers.
What a load of crap. And he just made all this thing about, oh, it's critical, we've got to save the planet, climate change. Yeah, this is the guy who, when he went to play polo in Colorado from California, where he lives, Santa Barbara Airport, he went to the airport to get onto his private jet. Not very ecological, really, and realised, so stupid is he, he'd forgotten his polo kit. So he sent a limousine back to his mansion in Montecito, a journey of about 40 minutes, apparently, to pick up his kit, bring it back to the airport. All the time on the runway, this private jet is roaring away, damaging the planet. Then he gets into it, flies to Colorado, and then he flies a private jet back. And he's lecturing us about saving the planet. Do me a favour, Kinsey. That's outrageous, isn't it?
Yeah, you'll tell him where he can shove that polo equipment. You know what I loved about the Sun on Sunday was they said it's time to streamline his operations when they were talking about all these new hires, all these new white people that have come on board to work for Harry and Meghan. It's time to streamline his operation and find a way of getting his message across. Service above oneself is the cornerstone of everything he does. Listening to him on stage in China, I didn't hear that. I suspect he was paid for that appearance because that's a very it's a very long way to go and be away from your family who you sit on international television and say are in danger. Yeah. So to go away from your family and be so far away for a significant amount of time, there has to be something in it for this man. Mm-hmm. When you think about him standing on a stage, being paid to talk about climate change and the way he got there, you realize that this is not about a life of service. And you think about King Charles, who has cancer and heard the call from Canada. And yes, he got on a plane too. But, you know, King Charles has lived this life of service and truly does live this life of service. And there's Harry, who's going to interrupt the King's big trip by showing up in China unannounced to lecture us on something that he doesn't even do himself.
Exactly right. You know, to be honest with you, the one thing I'll say about the King and Prince William, who also lecture the hell out of us about climate change, they're hypocrites as well. I mean, the King's air miles every year are just extraordinary. William, you know, to go about 5 miles, he gets a helicopter. So I don't listen to a word these...
I'd rather look at William, though, if we're being honest.
I don't listen to a word those royals say, but Harry in particular, don't you tell us about saving the planet, what we've got to do when you're doing the square root of sod all. In fact, you're making the planet much worse by flying around it on private jets and first class. So that's just ludicrous. Now, this is a good way to finish, Kinsey. Great to talk to you as always. I think we'll be talking on Monday. Have a lovely weekend. But before we part, this is, at long last, how Meghan signed off at the end of her disastrous podcast series, Confessions of a Female Founder. Take it away, Meg.
Well, that's a wrap on season 1 of Confessions of a Female Founder. I just want to say thank you guys so much for being so open to hearing all of these women's stories. I hope you felt as inspired as I have. Thanks for your support as you heard my story too, little bits of it. It's just the beginning, but my goodness, it's been really great to be able to share it with you. Wishing you all the best and loads of success in whatever you're building today and every day.
Ding, 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 ding. That's the end of series 1 there, Kinsey. Not only is that the first series, it's the last series too. Hey!
I don't think anyone would miss it if it didn't return. And just stop and think about the parade of trophies Meghan Markle collected for Archetypes, which was canceled because it did not meet expectations.
I forgot about that.
And no trophies. Well, you forgot about it because Harry accused the paparazzi of a near catastrophic car chase during the last award that she stopped to pick up. But yeah, that was, she always talks like, thank you for letting me tell my story. Girl, you've had a podcast for 5 years in some way, shape or form. You have an Instagram account. Stop acting like anybody's duct taping your mouth shut. You won't shut up. We're tired of hearing from you. Stop acting like you were, remember when she compared herself to Ariel in The Little Mermaid? It's like, she always acts like she's unable to speak. You have a million platforms. Please stop acting like a martyr.
Yeah, exactly right. Confessions of a Founder, Archetypes, these are all one series wonders. She's useless. She can't entertain anyone. As I say, somewhere down the line, she took a bucket full of boring pills. She has no idea how to be entertaining or compelling. And one last thing I'll say before we part company, Kinsey. We were talking earlier about Prince Harry is now dismayed by all the negative press he gets. Well, as you quite rightly say, look, Harry, if you're watching, same for you, Meghan, the reason you get so much negative press is because of the way you behave. It's because of your disgraceful behaviour. It's because you called the royal family racists. In fact, you called all of us in Britain racists. It's because you wrote that horrible little book. It's because you're a spoilt brat who gave a ridiculous interview to the BBC because you couldn't get gun guards when you came to Britain. And the reason you didn't get gun guards, you won't get gun guards, is because you don't deserve them. You don't warrant them. And finally, here's an idea. If you want to get positive press from the newspapers, stop bloody well suing them. There's a thought, eh? He keeps suing the papers every other day. Why don't these papers write nice things about them? Well, I don't know. If you stop taking it to court, just maybe, things might change for you. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. And on that bombshell, we better go, Kinsey. I always talk to you for far too long. Great to talk. Have a great weekend. We'll talk on Monday. We better go straight to break. When we come back, your calls, your WhatsApp voice notes and your messages. Much still to come. Stick where you are.
Sometimes you've got to get out of a suit, get out of Westminster, frankly, and shame the authorities into doing things. And I was just fed up seeing people dodging their fares, not just on the London Underground, but all over the country. I represent a community up in Nottinghamshire, and I've seen it there as well. And I felt that something had to be done. And so I've done this video. There's been a massive reaction to it. And now, at least in London, I want Sadiq Khan, our do-nothing mayor, to step up, pull his finger out and get to work.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I've got a few texts. Oh, here's a good one. This is from Les in Cheshire. He says, brilliant show as usual, Kev. Thank you, Les. Is Kinsey up for a date? Actually, she's coming over to London, I think, in a couple of weeks, so I'll see what I can do, Les, OK? Let's play a WhatsApp voice note before we go to the phones. This is Dave on poor old tasered pensioner Douglas.
Hi, Kev. It's just about the 92-year-old who was tasered for ridiculous reason, really. He had a butter knife, and them two police should face the heaviest consequences possible, because that guy is dead, and in my eyes, it's because of them two that he's dead. COVID. They put his death down to COVID. Oh, what a crock! If I was his family, I'd be saying I don't want to do anything with the body until there's been a proper inquiry. Absolutely disgrace. And as for the cannabis, yeah, I agree with people who's got a disability or they need it, back pain or whatever. Yeah, fair enough. But as in general, everybody's smoking it and out the face, and it stinks. No chance. It's not normal, is it? So, no, I'm sorry. Anyway, Kev, thanks for that.
With you, Dave. Very nice WhatsApp voice note there, and I totally agree with you about poor old Douglas. Of course, it was about 3 years ago he died. And Joe, remember, that was when the authorities were putting everybody's death down to COVID. There were those people who got run over by a bus. COVID. Oh, what a scourge COVID was. You don't think that maybe, we as a nation, as a world, we slightly overreacted to COVID? Do you think there's a possibility of that? What with, still having ruined the country now because of it? I don't know. Let me know what you think. 03444991000. Let's go to the phones because he's been waiting for a hell of a long time. I nearly talked to him about an hour ago. It's Herbie in Harrow. Hi, Herbie. How you doing?
Very well, Kevin. Good evening. No, it's one of those things. It happens,
Yeah.
You're still here, so that's okay. Yes, with regarding Nigel and the costings of the events they want to put together, if they want to take back what Keir Starmer's done, how much is that going to cost them? That's what you've got to look at. You can't really reclaim what they've already spent, and it's going to cost them a fortune. As long as it's costed, okay, Kevin, we'll be all right, and they're on the right track, but it must be costed.
This is what's driving me nuts, though. I mean, he made the point. I'm not sort of costing it encyclopedically now. It's 4 years before he'll get the chance to govern this country. Many people hope that he does get that chance. So he's talking in broad brushstrokes, which I think is fair enough. But in broad brushstrokes, when Labour and Tories say he hasn't costed this, how's he going to afford all this? He bloody well told us. On that press conference a couple of days ago, he said, look, they're wasting £40 billion a year on this net zero nonsense. I will cancel it. They're wasting £7 billion a year on DEI, like Donald Trump. I will cancel it. We're wasting billions and billions, probably 5 to 10 billion, maybe 11 billion pounds a year on the migrant crisis. I will stop the migrants, and therefore we won't spend any more money. And so in a way, in that speech, he came up with about £60 billion worth of extremely plausible savings. They say, how is it going to cost it? His speech explained it. They don't want to confront what he said because the Labour Party and the Tory Party are committed to continuing to pour billions of pounds down the green diversity drain. They cannot stand the fact that someone like Donald Trump has stood up and said, enough of all this claptrap. What do you reckon? And all the people, me, you, everybody goes, we reckon, we agree, we've had enough of it. Stop it. Stop virtue signalling. Start thinking about us.
Exactly. Kevin, I'll tell you what, as long as, if you make a promise and it gets broken, then you'll like the rest of them. Make a pledge. We will pledge to do this, Kevin, if the money is there, because we don't know what the world's going to be like in 4 years' time. We don't know what the finances are going to be like in 4 years' time. We could be bankrupt as far as we know, the way things are going with the Labour Party at the moment. So we really need to be very careful what promises we make to try and keep.
Yeah. But I don't think that I don't think Farage's promises were at all outlandish. I thought they were extremely plausible. And here's another idea while you're on, Herbie. What I think Reform UK will do and roll on this, they'll start fracking. You know, we have vast amounts of shale gas that could bring our energy prices plummeting. The reason America's energy prices are 5 times cheaper than us, and we have the highest energy prices in the world, the reason the Americans get such a cheap deal is because they frack. You know, it's a simple... Yeah, and they drill for oil. So drill, baby, drill. There's all sorts of ways that this country could be economically almost a superpower if we stopped having all these idiot virtue signalling politicians who think polishing their own halo and say, I'm going to save the planet, oh yeah, green, windmills, yeah, brilliant, DEI, be kind. If we just stopped these politicians being like that and got them to govern this country in a sensible, real way, then we'd be okay.
Yeah, but Kevin, you know, I don't know if you saw on Facebook or Twitter the other day, a solar farm that was completely destroyed because of the weather. It's called Hailstones. Absolutely destroyed every one of those panels.
Something funny about that. It wasn't sunny, it was hailing, and it destroyed the solar farm. Unbelievable. Oh, it's just crazy. Well, what about that plan they had recently? The government's plan or the proposal, right, we're going to see solar panels, all this sun. Oh, the sun's quite bad for us, isn't it? Let's dim the sun rays by putting particles into the clouds. Incoherence. Doesn't even begin to cover the government's approach to all this nonsense.
You couldn't make it up, Kevin.
You couldn't. Get rid of it. Get rid of all this green claptrap. Get rid of this diversity nonsense. Start fracking. We'll be absolutely fine. But if we carry on with these virtue signalling idiots like Starmer and, for that matter, Kemi Badenoch, we're finished. Herbie, always a pleasure to talk to you, mate. I've got to go now, but call me again. Herbie in Harrow. Let's go to break now. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your WhatsApp voice notes, and I'll read some of your messages. So stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Before we go back to the phones, another WhatsApp voice note, and this is from Katie. It's talking about judges, the rule of law, which I say, oh, that's all very well, but what about the rule of the democratically elected government? They're finding out in America that 3 judges have decided they have more power than the president, and 3 judges in some obscure federal court have decided that Donald Trump's tariff economic policy is unlawful, and as of now, it doesn't exist. It's been cancelled. Donald Trump's going to appeal. We have the same kind of warped system here where the elected leader of the country is not as powerful as judges who can overrule him. I think we've got to do something about this. Let's find out what Katie's got to say about it.
Hi, Kev. Because it is a democracy, the only rule should be the rule that Parliament imposes. That is our constitution, and any lawyer or court or judge that thinks it is above the power of the people should be taken down.
Well, exactly what I was saying, Katie. They should certainly be told you cannot overrule the elected Prime Minister, the elected government. You're not as powerful as them. They rule this country, not some old judge, or 3 judges in this case. It's not right in my view. We've got to think about this. We've got to do something serious about this because we have a Prime Minister, rule of law, the rule of law, the rule of international law. To him, that is a godlike kind of priority, you know, that the judges rule us, be they judges in Brussels or in Washington or London. They rule us. They make the big decision. No, no, no. We don't vote for judges. We don't vote for the Supreme Court. We vote for politicians, for better or for worse. But that is the system. I hate to say this, but Keir Starmer should be the man making the decisions for this country. OK, he makes terrible decisions, but that's democracy for you. It doesn't always go your way. So Keir Starmer, stop being subservient to the courts. Start asserting your control. It's your right. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Kaz in Kensington in London. Hello, Kaz.
Hi, Kevin. So today I was in Waitrose on the High Street in Kensington.
Yeah.
And there was a shoplifter in the store and there were 3 security guards. And then I stopped the shoplifter. And then what happened in the end was, I was leaving with my groceries that I had paid for, and then I saw him just stealing stuff, and he was run out. And then I stop him, and then he plays the race card, and then the police gets called on me because he was a black guy, and then he said I was being racist, and the police came, and then it was all like a massive
Well, let's
drama.
Kaz, let's just run through this again. So you're in Waitrose in Kensington High Street, one of the Swisher areas of London, a very well-to-do exclusive enclave. So you're in the supermarket, you're in Waitrose, and you saw a black guy. What was he nicking?
He had a wine in his hand.
Yeah.
And then he had it wasn't steak, but it was something from the meat. Like the meat aisle.
Okay, yeah.
And I just stopped.
So he was just trying to walk out of the shop, was he?
Yeah, just run out. Then I grabbed his arm.
Did you?
And then,
okay. So he's running out because it's obviously going to nick this stuff. You grabbed his arm. Yeah, carry on.
And then I said to him to pay for it or drop it where he was standing. And then the security kept come as well. And then I said, "Are you going to do anything?" And then they said they can't touch him because of certain reasons. And I said, "Then there's no point in having you here."
Yeah, good point. And he turned around and called you a racist?
Oh, yeah. So he said I was being racist. And then I'm just like, it's not being racist. It's just stopping someone from stealing.
It's having an interest in the law, people being law-abiding. You saw people, this guy shoplifting. You tried to help the shop out. By stopping him. He says you're a racist because I assume you're white and he's black.
I'm Arab as well.
Oh,
so
okay, well, it gets worse. So you've done that, and did you say the police were then called?
Oh yeah, then the police were called because the police station's like literally 30 seconds away from the store, and then they come and then they try and get me into trouble. Rather than the guy who was stealing, and then he still managed to steal in the end. So the police didn't even stop him. He still walked out with the wine and the meat or whatever it was.
So,
and
the,
then I
so
was
the
just
police,
baffled.
the police turned up. He's still there, stealing this wine and meat.
Yeah.
By now, he's accused you of being a racist. And what did the police? So the police did what? What did they say to you? They just let him walk out.
Yeah, they just let him walk out. They said, leave him be, or
Leave him
I'll get
be?
into trouble, or I'll get into trouble.
You would get into trouble.
Yeah, for like something to do with racism. And then I just laughed at the policewoman and the policeman. Well, it's probably police them now.
So unbelievable. And so after that, that was it. The guy walked out with his stolen produce, some wine and some meat. You're left talking to the police who warn you, you better be a bit quiet, otherwise you get done for racism.
Yeah.
And then the coppers watched him walk out, and then they left and you left. Is that the story?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
Honestly, Kaz, that was that's a story of our times, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. Well, listen, Kaz, thank you very much for sharing that. I'm sorry you had to go through that. You're obviously a decent citizen. You tried to do the right thing. You get accused of racism, and the cops tell you to wind your neck in and watch this guy walk out with the wine and the meat that you tried to stop him stealing. I hardly know what to say, Kaz, except for to thank you for a phone call that, as I say, is a story of our times. Isn't that amazing? Well, astonishing, shocking, horrific, really. That's what's going on. That's what we were talking about earlier with Robert Jenrick and everything. You know, it's this lawlessness. The police clearly just allowing this guy to nick this stuff. The spectre of racism in the air, let's be careful here. Not prosecuting small crimes. If you allow minor crimes to go unpunished, the big crimes will flourish. It's quite good, that, isn't it? It sort of rhymes, doesn't it? If you allow the small crimes to go unpunished, the big crimes will flourish. It's a slogan. There you go. On that bombshell, let's go to break. When we come back, more of your phone calls, more of your messages. And I've got a couple of WhatsApp voice notes to play. Let's do that.
One of the things that a lot of people don't realise about cannabis, that excessive use can produce psychosis.
Yeah.
So we do get quite a lot of incidents within London of psychopathic behaviour of people who are extreme cannabis users. So there is some truth in the fact that it's a damaging drug.
Yeah, I think that's a massive issue that's often overlooked. People think of it as just some sort of, just a few people sort of sitting around smoking dope. It's not. That's certainly not the kind of drug that a lot of people are using.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Only about 10 minutes, 9 minutes to go. In a little while, Andre Walker or Ash, probably Ash, will be in to tell you what they've got lined up for your entertainment from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. The dynamic duo, what a show that's going to be. Always very entertaining. Highly recommend it. But probably Ash in a while to tell you what they've got for you. Let's go back to the WhatsApp voice notes. This one's a bit disconcerting. It's Robbie, and the description I've got of what he wants to say is this: Kev's impressions. So God knows what's coming up here, but take it away, Robbie.
Hi, Kev. Dublin, how are you keeping? Great show tonight. I mean, like, when we put you on at 7 o'clock and next you hear shouts around the house, he's doing Starmer, he's doing Starmer. Them impressions are unreal. And it just dawned on me. Do you remember that guy in the 80s, Max Headroom? That's exactly who Starmer reminds me of now. See you later.
Cheers, Robbie. He's doing a Starmer. Well, let's go back to the voice WhatsApp voice notes. This is Dave on Starmer. My Keir Starmer's mad spending.
Good evening, Kevin. Dave here. On fantasy economics, if you listen to Starmer, he spends 45 billion, rough estimate, just on green energy projects. Your man, what's his name, Millipede, he spends 22 billion carbon capture, 8 billion for GB energy, and 15 billion for overseas projects. Just those two items alone, those policies alone, Nigel has got everything wrapped up. Good show, mate.
Thank you very much, Dave. I mean, the truth is, he does, he did cost it out. I mean, it's not precise. He said, look, there's time, this is fairly broad brushstrokes. But when they say, how's he going to pay for this? He explained it. His whole speech was, get rid of the net zero, get rid of DEI, stop the asylum systems because you stop the migrants. There you go, right off the bat, 50, 60 billion pounds. But they don't want to talk about that because that ruins them, because they're going to stick with the asylum systems and they're going to stick with the green garbage nonsense. They're going to stick with the diversity insanity, and then they're going to keep pouring billions of our pounds down the drain with all that claptrap. So, it drives me nuts, as you can probably tell. A couple of messages here, texts. This is from Deborah in Lee. She said Pakistani culture is to supply the citizens of the UK with heroin and cocaine, is it? I'm pretty sure this is something his son could have done without learning from his father. The right to a family life was given up once they became a convicted criminal, as if a family meant anything to him. They would not have been wrecking the family life of others. He's right about that. This guy didn't really bring up his kids at all. And here's another one. This is from Lisa talking about Starmer. I'm totally sick of it all. I think we all are. She says, I'm totally sick of all of it. A snap election is looking more and more likely to me. Oh, if only, Lisa, if only. He's not going to call a snap election because he'd lose it rather spectacularly, and he knows it. His fall from grace has just been extraordinary. This is Anne in Archway talking about poor old Douglas, the 92-year-old guy who was tasered by cops, by bovine coppers. It was a butter knife, a small and designed knife to serve butter, not cut. Perhaps those police were not trained in the use of cutlery. It's a good point. That's a good point. Let's take a very last call. Ash is in the studio. He's lined up to tell you what he's got lined up for you. But first, let's talk to Mary in, oh my God, Cyprus. We're international. Hi, Mary. What would you like to say?
Hello, Kevin. Well, I'm just wondering what's happened to the British judiciary.
We all are, Mary. We all are.
Yeah, well, the two police people were found not guilty in court for what they had done to the poor old man. And there's Lucy Connolly, who got 31 months for, because of what she put on social media. She went to appeal. She's already done 9 months, but no, they won't let her go. Now, I'm just an old lady, an expat in Cyprus looking at this and wondering what the devil is going on.
I think what they call it, Mary, is two-tier justice. And in fact, two-tier does it too much of a credit, because what we've got, it seems to me, is multi-tier justice. There's no consistency to our legal system, to our justice system. The punishments that get handed down do not fit the crimes. As you say, Lucy Connolly is pretty much a political prisoner. 31 months for hurty words on social media. Do me a favour. And those two coppers getting acquitted. They're charged with assault, line of duty and all that. Line of duty, tasering a 92-year-old man with one leg. If that's the line of duty, those coppers shouldn't be on duty. As I say, they're not fit to wear the badge. I hope they get sacked. Mary, you're absolutely right, but it's as confusing to me as it is to you, the legal system here. But what can you do? Mary, thank you very much for an excellent call. Mary in Cyprus there. Yeah, hi Ash. How you doing, man?
All right, that 92-year-old bloke, they did it all within 84 seconds. They emptied a can of pepper spray into his face. Then
they smashed him around with their truncheon,
and then they tased him all within 84 seconds. All they needed to do was wait there. Like you said, he's got one leg. He's not going to get up, and wait for him to fall asleep or drop the knife. You know, it was unreasonable force, and the jury should have found that. But
I gather they were on red alert in case he hopped away. But seriously,
he died, didn't he? 22
days later, and they're now up before a disciplinary hearing on gross misconduct. And I don't like calling for people to lose their jobs.
I think they will lose their jobs.
I think they should be sacked. They don't deserve to wear the badge.
But they should have been found guilty. That was not reasonable force.
I agree with you, but I don't get why they did it. No common sense whatsoever.
No.
Absolutely cool. What you got coming up?
Me and Andre, we got Robert Jenrick, getting all like Batman. He was like Batman.
That. Great film.
It was a great film. Anna McGovern's on. We've got Barmy Brunch, who wears a bean sort of gimp mask. He's from the Monster Raving Loony Party.
That's good.
And then, Curtis Hinton, of course, from Queck's New Journalist. He looks like Jim Carrey, so he's going to be on. Just because he looks like Jim Carrey.
That's why you got to